Ah, if I were on top of things, it would be a miracle, a Christmas miracle. Hello, I am Mo from Mo in the Deep End, and today we are going to do possibly all of day one, but at least the opening statements in the Groves trial. It is a very sad trial, but it does give you, there are a couple things that I like about this trial. First of all, the defense is both a husband and wife, but they are trying to take, uh, the blame on only the wife. Hello, Christine and Phoenix Fire. So, for the death of the trial, they are trying to exculpate or say that the husband has really no involvement in the death of the child and place all the blame on Jessica Groves. So, the two characters that are on the defendant's side in this trial are Daniel and Jessica Groves. Good morning, Mo. Or, sorry, alternate juror. Sorry, we have been I will have to excuse myself. We have been on a day-long journey to find a backpack that my youngest, most feral one has lost. I don't know where it is. We cannot find it. Welcome, Digger420. So this is about baby Dylan Groves. He was born to Jessica and Daniel Groves. They went into the maternity ward, and the nurses that we will see on day one, the maternity nurses will be, witnesses, I think, one and two in this case. They will explain to you that Jessica came in and she was showing obvious signs of being on some sort of substance. Now, because of this, they weren't able to give her any medication. Dylan was born several weeks premature. He did have obvious signs of withdrawal, and they were able to do a blood test from his umbilical cord that showed he had various street pharmaceuticals in his body. Now, Jessica later admitted that she had been on some nose powder, but only enough to stop withdrawals, not enough to maintain a high, according to her. Now, Jessica had been a former nurse, but due to addictions, she did have, she lost her job. Now, during the time that Dylan was in the NICU dealing with withdrawals and what my having had many, many children, and the last three being boys, and some of them being a little premature, there is a thing called wimpy white boy syndrome. So sometimes when little boys, and they are Caucasian, are born a little early, they do have a hard time breathing. Now, what is interesting about these parents is that they never went to go see baby Dylan. Now, Scioto County Children's Services are in charge of kind of when the hospital has questions about whether these parents would be able to take care of these children, Scioto County was okay with sending this baby who had obviously been born addicted with these parents that never checked on him. They were okay as long as the dad said that he was going to be able to give a clean sample. Now, the hospital was like, no. So the hospital basically refused to give up custody to the parents. So Scioto County courts gave custody to, or county gave him to a foster care for about 12 days. Now, during this time, Daniel Groves and the Family Services came up with a contract that Jessica, being the main sort of issue that they saw, was not to be in the house if Daniel was to take custody. Now, the foster mother, and I do have videos, I will try to make a playlist of this particular case. The foster mother was very worried during sort of supervised visits that Jessica would come in and she did seem under the influence, and so did Daniel. But Daniel was able to pee clean. However, his sample was not monitored. No one watched him give the sample. He just kind of brought in some piddle, if you will. Now, Scioto County Child Welfare Services did do several home visits. Now, they did not do their standard protocol, which is you are supposed to unclothe the child, look for any sort of bruises or anything else. During these visits, Jessica would hold baby Dylan very close to her and not let anyone else touch him. Jessica did stop going to her, drug treatment program. And after a couple visits, it became very hard to catch the Groves. Suddenly, there were dads with heart attacks, hospitals, all sorts of things were coming up to where Scioto County, Children's Services could not find baby Dylan. And since they technically had custody of baby Dylan, he was kidnapped. So finally, the Groves have an older son, Daniel Jr., 14, and they picked him up at school and took custody of him. Well, this angered deeply Daniel and Jessica, who thought that they were wonderful parents. And they did ask, hey, why did you take our son? Well, it turns out that, they had a warrant signed out, kind of like the Lori Vallow, produce the baby or we're coming to get you. Well, after a bit of a standoff involving a robot to make sure that there were no IEDs in the double wide, there was a bit of a shenanigans where Daniel came in high as a kite, but finally admitted that baby Dylan had passed away. Well, I'll let you, but basically, you have two parents addicted who will now try to claim that there was an accident, and the state prosecution is having none of it. I do like this trial, not for the subject matter, but I like the interesting legal defense where the defense is trying to have the wife take complete responsibility for the abuse of baby Dylan. But I also like that the state, and we will get to this, the state has absolutely no freaking chill with these parents. And normally, lawyers stay very calm. They don't get flit irritated. They stay professional. You can tell when you're a little riled, but the prosecutor has no chill, and I'm okay with that with this trial because these two people have been adjudicated human trash, okay? So I'm not going to have any chill with them, but let's start with the prosecution's opening statement. Let me get the little thingamabob on so we don't have to see law and crim. And here we go. I do have the sound boosted up. Let me know if you guys can hear it right. I hope I gave you kind of a little intro. I do have a longer sort of storyboard and a letter written by the foster mother and things like that. But for the sake of brevity, and my husband is taking the boys and everyone out to Walmart, so let's try to get it done while it's quiet. Let's get going.
Please be seated. We are back on the record, State of Ohio versus Daniel A. Groves and State of Ohio versus Jessica Groves, case number 19 CR 586 A and B. Counsel, the parties, and the jury are back in the courtroom. The jury was selected yesterday. At this time, I believe we are ready to begin with opening statements in this matter. This time, counsel for the parties may have an opening statement. Opening statements of counsel are concise and orderly descriptions of each side's claims and defenses and the evidence counsel expects to produce in support of those claims and defenses. They are not evidence. Each side will address you once during opening statements, with the state going first. Is the state ready to proceed with opening statements?
We are, Your Honor.
Is defense ready, Ms. Scott?
We are ready, thank you.
Mr. Stratton?
Yes, sir.
State may address
Okay.
the jury.
So one quick thing, so Jessica and Daniel will be represented by different lawyers. This is kind of like the RICO case that Nicholas Starro Trial Watch is covering. While the defense will share a table, they are being represented by different people. Okay, I will stop now.
Thank you, Your Honor.
These are the two
May it
human
please the
garbage
court,
cans.
opposing counsel, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, good morning. Again, my name is Julie Cook Hutchinson, and I, along with prosecuting attorney Shane Tiemann, represent the state of Ohio. Before we discuss what it is that the state must prove and what we believe the evidence will be, I too want to thank you for your service. The service that you are about to complete here on behalf of your community is very vital to our American justice system. And each of us understand that each of you have other obligations you are putting aside to be here with us this week. So thank you. I also want to apologize to you in advance. The case you're about to hear is a difficult case. You're going to see, hear, and learn things that you cannot unsee, unhear, or unlearn. And for that, I'm sorry. Having said that, let's discuss what the charges are in this case. The defendants, Daniel and Jessica Groves, are charged with 11 felony charges. His Honor, Judge Kuhn will instruct you on the law that you are to follow throughout this trial. If something I say differs from what something he says, you are to follow His Honor's instructions. Keep in mind that some of the terminology we use in everyday language.
Those some of the
may
words
differ
uttered
from legal
outside that
definitions.
courtroom in New York in the Harvey Weinstein
Again,
case, but
What the actual Schnell? No one wants to hear about Harvey Weinstein. Come on now.
His Honor,
opening
Judge
statements
Kuhn
now in the
will
Daniel
instruct
and
you as
Jessica
to the
Groves
legal
case in
definitions
Ohio.
that
Let's
apply
listen
in this
live.
case. You heard in voir dire the phrase being in cahoots with someone. And you also heard in Ohio that the legal term for that is complicity. His Honor may instruct you that the defendant or defendants can be found guilty of the offense charged as a principal offender, in other words, the person who committed that crime, but also can be found guilty of that principal offense in complicity. In other words, they don't have to be the person who actually committed the crime, but complicit to that person or in cahoots with that person. You may be further instructed that complicity means aided or abetted.
Okay, since I don't like dealing with like serious stuff, um, I don't know how I feel about the black lacy top and the really smoky eye for a daytime court thing, but that's just me.
Sorry about that. Technology is great when it works. And you may also be instructed that aiding and abetting includes supporting, assisting, cooperating with, advising, inciting another to commit a crime. Complicity also includes conspiring with another person to commit a crime. State of Ohio versus Daniel Groves and State of Ohio versus Jessica Groves charges each defendant with the following felony charges. Aggravated murder. Requires the state of Ohio to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendants did or were complicit to purposely causing the death of baby Dylan, who was under 13 years of age at the time of the offense. Defendants are charged in count 2 with murder, which requires the state of Ohio to prove that the defendants did or were complicit to knowingly causing the death of baby Dylan as a proximate result of committing or attempting to commit a felony offense of violence that is a felony of the first or second degree. In count 3, the defendants are charged with kidnapping. Kidnapping requires the state of Ohio to prove that the defendants did or were complicit to, by force, threat, or deception, or in the case of a victim under 13 by any means, remove baby Dylan from the place where he was found or restrain his liberty for the purpose of hindering, impeding, or obstructing a function of the government. Count 4, child endangering, requires the state of Ohio to prove that the defendants did or were complicit to, as a parent, guardian, custodian, person having custody or control, or in loco parentis of a child under the age of 18 create a substantial risk of health or safety to baby Dylan by violating a duty of care, protection, or support, and that violation resulted in serious physical harm. Count 5, the defendants are charged with tampering with evidence, and that requires the state of Ohio to prove that the defendants did or were complicit in knowing that an official proceeding or investigation was in progress or was about to be or likely to be instituted, alter, destroy, conceal, or remove any record, document, or thing with purpose to impair its value or availability as evidence in such investigation. Count 6 charges the defendants with interference with custody and requires the state of Ohio to prove that the defendants did or were complicit to, knowing that he or she had no privilege to do so or being reckless in that regard, entice, keep, or harbor baby Dylan from a parent, guardian, or custodian of a child under the age of 18, and that baby Dylan suffered serious physical harm as a result of that violation. Count 7, gross abuse of a corpse, requires the state of Ohio to prove that the defendant did or was complicit to treating baby Dylan's body in a way that would outrage reasonable community sensibilities. The remaining counts 8, 9, 10, and 11, are counts of felonious assault, and they require the state of Ohio to prove that the defendants did or were complicit to knowingly causing serious physical harm to baby Dylan. Having heard the charges you are to consider, let's turn to the evidence and testimony that the state of Ohio believes will be presented in the coming week. The evidence will be that on January 10th, 2019, in the early morning hours, the defendants Daniel Groves and Jessica Groves arrived by self-transport at the emergency department of Southern Ohio Medical Center here in Scioto County, Ohio. Several hospital employees will testify here. They will testify that for Jessica, labor was nearly complete upon arrival, as she was dilated 9.5
Okay. Nothing I hate more than parents or anyone who cries at their trial when they cried not one bit when they were committing the crime. But I will go ahead and let you guys know I have no chill. Look, if I could send these two naked and afraid style to Snake Island, let's get it going. Y'all know what's gonna come. I would do so happily without losing any sleep. These two are trash people. And I don't mean that because they're hill chucks. I don't mean that because they are, addicts. I mean because what they did to this baby.
out of 10 centimeters. They will testify that Jessica Groves refused to answer any questions and that a urine sample had to be taken by straight catheter. The testimony will be the hospital staff administered no pain medications to Jessica Groves for several reasons. There were no medical records of prenatal care. Jessica appeared to be under the influence but refused to answer any questions about what substances she may have taken. And not giving medications enabled the staff at the hospital to determine what had been ingested pre-admission so that they could care for baby Dylan once he was born. It will be claimed that Jessica, for some period, lengthy period, had no prenatal care because she did not know she was pregnant. However, the evidence will show that she's had a prior pregnancy and that she was once a licensed LPN. Baby Dylan was delivered within approximately 30 minutes, and the testimony will be that that delivery was uneventful. No complications in that delivery. Not long after birth, baby Dylan was taken to the nursery and put on oxygen because he was born early and needed support. The testimony will be that neither parent accompanied that baby to the nursery. At some point, urine was also collected from baby Dylan for drug screening purposes, and both Jessica Groves and baby Dylan had positive drug screens there at the hospital. Within 12 hours, baby Dylan begins to exhibit
He's like,
symptoms of drug
nuh-uh,
withdrawal.
I'm writing it down. Nuh-uh.
As a result of that, the hospital then notified Scioto County Children's Services, and baby Dylan was kept in the nursery for 5 days, awaiting a discharge plan that the hospital and Children's Services could agree was safe. Initially, Children's Services believed that Daniel Groves was employed with Rural King and that he could submit to a clean urine test. A safety plan was discussed wherein baby Dylan would be placed with Daniel Groves,
That is true.
that
Digital
Jessica Groves
420. That
would
could be
not live in the
possible.
home, and that her contact with the children in the home would be supervised by Daniel Groves.
Okay. I do have a comment here. Who in their right mind? These two had been married for 25 years. They think that this dude is going to kick his grandma out. No way they thought that this was actually going to happen, that he was going to kick his wife out and protect his child. I mean, I understand being pie in the sky, but this is ridiculous. There is no way in hell that was ever going to happen.
Children's Services was going to require Jessica to complete a drug assessment and to undergo treatment and be compliant with that treatment. There was to be weekly contact between baby Dylan and Children's Services. However, the hospital would not agree to discharge baby Dylan under that safety plan. Prior to the release of baby Dylan from the hospital, his umbilical cord was sent off for testing, and the results were returned. Baby Dylan's U-cord, or umbilical cord, showed positive for methamphetamine, amphetamine, fentanyl, and opiates, including morphine. On January 15th, 2019, Andrea Bowling became baby Dylan's foster mother as she picked him up from the hospital. On January 16th, 2019, Scioto County Children's Services awarded emergency custody of baby Dylan to Children's Services. During the time that foster mother Andrea Bowling had baby Dylan, he was seen twice by a pediatrician named Dr. Ali. His medical records indicate, and Dr. Ali will testify, that he was free from injury and progressing well, with the exception of some drug withdrawals. Baby Dylan lived with Andrea until January 28th, 2019, when Children's Services decided to place the baby back with Daniel Groves under circumstances similar to what was previously discussed. Evidence will show that Jessica was assessed by Mahajan Therapeutics for drug treatment on January 18th, 2019, and that she was compliant with treatment for less than 3 weeks. The defendants were compliant once the baby was placed back with them with pediatrician appointments for less than 1 month. However, from those 2 appointments, the evidence will show that baby Dylan again was injury-free and progressing well. The defendants also were not compliant with Children's Services. Evidence will show that between February 4th and February 25th, Children's Services was making multiple attempts to contact this family, to no avail. Children's Services even went to the school of the 14-year-old sibling to attempt to get a message to the parents. Finally, on February 25th, Children's Services was successful in making contact with the family at their residence at 2241 Mount Hope Road, Otway, Ohio, here in Scioto County. From that date, February 25th, to March 28th, again, the defendants were not compliant with
Well,
Children's
I
Services
mean, it is
contact.
the 7,
On March 28th,
special
Children's Services
terms.
again made contact, successful contact, with the family at that Mount Hope address. Baby Dylan was wearing a long-sleeved onesie, and he did not appear to have any visible injuries.
Okay. Now, here's where the Children's Services did not follow their own protocol. Ideally, and what they are supposed to do at every single one of these visits is take the child, undress him, and make sure that there are not any bruises, where obviously, just like, she is going to point out, long sleeves, he's covered up. They should be looking for not apparent bruises. They did not do their job. This is just as much a failure of, child services as it is of these parents. And there is a law that is stuck in committee hell right now that was put forth by the foster mother that would have put in protections, placed into law protections for babies that are born to drug addicted parents. But it is stuck in committee hell, so I don't know if it's ever going to go through.
It was the last time baby Dylan was known to be alive. No calls for medical assistance for baby Dylan were ever made for that residence. That's going to be the evidence. All through April and May, Children's Services repeatedly tries to make contact. Children's Services eventually calls Rural King to attempt to make contact with Daniel Groves, and they're informed that Mr. Groves had not worked there since mid-2018. Deputies of the Scioto County Sheriff's Office attempted to make contact. Captain Murphy and Chief Miller from the Sheriff's Office attempt to make contact. They see the defendants on the roadway near their home and attempt to stop them, and a pursuit ensues, and the four-wheeler they are on flees off the roadway into the woods. Juvenile court sent an employee to make contact. Finally, the Sheriff's Office obtains a search warrant for that Mount Hope residence. And on June 10th, 2019, several members of the Scioto County Sheriff's Department, the Southern Ohio Drug Task Force, and the Ohio State Highway Patrol surround the residence on Mount Hope Road, demanding that Jessica and Daniel surrender. Within about 30 minutes, Jessica Groves appears at the front door, and the testimony will be that she's belligerent. Hours later, a robot is deployed inside the
belligerent
residence
drug
to locate
addict?
Daniel Groves,
Say it ain't
who
so.
is not coming out at the demands of law enforcement. Both were transported to the Scioto County Sheriff's Department for interrogation by Detective Conkle. You will hear that Jessica Groves maintains that Children's Services has come and taken her baby. Evidence will be that Daniel Groves is dope sick in there during that interview, rolling around in the floor. Evidence will also be that he tells several stories, starting with Children's Services came and took the baby. But eventually, Daniel Groves admits that baby Dylan is dead. On June 11th, 2019, Daniel agreed to take Detective Conkle to Dylan's body.
Now, we will get to it, and this is a spoiler alert, but what do you think they told the first story Daniel told about how baby Dylan passed away? Now, as an intelligent person, you're probably not going to believe this, but he tried to tell investigators and the medical people that baby Dylan got all of the injuries we're going to hear about from a dream catcher. That's right. A dream catcher fell from, on top of the bassinet to keep, scary dreams of who his parents really are. It fell and he managed to give himself multiple fractures from a dream catcher. Now, obviously, anyone with a functional prefrontal cortex realized this was the dumbest thing anyone has ever said. But I'll allow him to tell the story. But I thought I'd give you a little bit of a heads up that, yes, he is going to in fact contend that a dream catcher done did it.
Nothing was found. On June 12th, the evidence will be that these two defendants were placed in the room together and began whispering amongst each other. The things they're saying indicate to Detective Conkle that she's been misled about where this baby's body might be. After further interrogation, Daniel Groves again agrees to take Detective Kunkel to baby Dylan's body. Eventually, Daniel Groves leads the sheriff's office to a spring-fed well, 40-foot well, in the middle of a hayfield. Members of the local fire department respond to assist, and the fire department could not make it through in the truck, so they used a brush truck to get to that location. They attempted to pump water from the well. However, the pump was only successful in removing about 10 feet of the water. After that, they went back to the fire truck and they retrieved parts of an extraction kit. And with a gold metal hook, a strap, and some cord, they for 3 hours fished around in this water before they finally hooked what they thought might be the container that contained baby Dylan's body. It took several men to pull the container to the surface. Evidence will show that the container consisted of these two metal crates, or these two plastic milk crates, chained together, zip-tied, and wire-tied. It was weighted down with several rocks and a round metal object around Dylan's body.
I mean, just the
The container was loaded undisturbed for coroner's transport to the Montgomery County Coroner's Office. The coroner will testify that baby Dylan's death was the result of homicidal violence. Dr. Brown will testify that baby Dylan had 2 skull fractures, 2 rib fractures, upper arm fractures, lower arm fractures, and lower leg fractures.
all right, we need this again. And look, y'all, I don't generally curse on my channel, but screw you both. I hope Gen Pop justice happens allegedly in Minecraft. Okay, y'all, these two.
She will testify that some fractures showed signs of
So, Cat Toes, basically, this is not only a great letdown of parental responsibility. Children's Services actually fought to reunify the family. The foster mother was very concerned during visitation, and I do have a video of the foster mother kind of penning a letter and working on legislation that would sort of close the gaps. But basically, Scioto County Children's Services desperately, for some reason, wanted to get this family back together. Despite all of the warning signs, baby Dylan was still dealing with withdrawals, and anyone who has had any contact with a baby with withdrawals know that they cry a lot. They need, extra patience, extra care. They are just, think of a colicky baby times 12. She noted that both of the parents seemed to be intoxicated during or on substances during supervised visits. And when she brought this up to, the supervisors, to the county services, she was told, you don't get in between family reunification and stop it. You don't want to look like you're getting in between the parents. And when she did pack up all of the supplies, she gave her number to the father, like, hey, if you ever get overwhelmed, look, I know he's still going through some withdrawals, give me a call. She was a former teacher. We will see her testimony. And with her testimony, you get the grief and the sadness and the heartbreak of a parent. And in my opinion, and this is my opinion only, she is the only parent, the only loving parent that Dylan had for less than 2 weeks. 12 days is all that this little baby knew of a true, selfless, loving parent. And child services thought it was better to give him back to these trash bags. And you wonder why I say screw child services all the time.
Healing, and others did not. And she'll explain to you what that means.
But yeah, a dream catcher did all that, y'all. That's what he's going to try to sell.
The testimony will also be that baby Dylan again tested positive for methamphetamines and amphetamines. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, by the close of this case, I submit to you that you will have proof beyond a reasonable doubt that each of these defendants is guilty of each crime that they're charged with. And at that time, I will ask you to return a verdict of guilty as to each defendant and as to each count. Again, I thank you for your time.
Okay, now we will go to the defense opening statement. Oh, for the love of Cheetos, I don't want that.
There's the jury.
No,
Got Mr.
pull it up. No. Oh. You know, one day I am going to be super professional. I mean, not today, but one day it'll be a beautiful thing. It'll be amazing and beautiful. So let's hear what their defense has to say for 11 minutes. I'm sure it'll be... Well, actually, it is interesting. Their defense is going to talk about how actually prevalent pill mills are, how incredibly devastated their particular area was by the opioid crisis. Now, how that takes responsibility from the parents, I don't know, but look, the facts are definitely not in their case. I mean, they have no facts. They should have pled guilty and hoped for a plea deal. But look, what are you going to do? These are the facts. These are the defendants you've got. You got to have a gambit somewhere. So let's see what they've got to say.
There's the jury.
Absolutely. Applause. God bless the closed captioners.
If it pleases
May
the
you never
court,
change.
The state, Attorney Scott, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Let me begin the story of this tragedy. As most of you are aware, through the news or personal experience, our community, Portsmouth and Sauter County, has been and still is ground zero for this terrible drug problem. We hear regularly about overdoses and crimes directly related to drugs. It has taken a foothold here and has devastated our friends, our family, and our whole community. It is no respecter of age, status, or wealth. This scourge of our modern society turns spouses against spouses, siblings against siblings, grandparents against grandchildren, and breaks the bonds of family.
Ooh,
Grandparents
we've
are
got hand
raising
signals.
grandchildren, and in some cases, great-grandparents are raising great-grandchildren. There are so many people trying to reverse and correct this problem. There has been this upswell in our community of people that have said enough is enough. We're going to change and come back. We will win this fight, make our home a better place. But the first step in winning this fight is for individuals that have been led down this path to take personal responsibility for their crimes and their sins. And that starts right here, right now. My client, Jessica Groves, was and still is a drug addict. There is no doubt about that fact. She, and she alone, caused the injuries to Dylan Groves, which led to his death. She murdered Dylan Groves. She will testify that she murdered Dylan Groves. She will testify to the injuries that she caused to Dylan Groves. The 2-inch fracture
Spoiler alert, not
on
really.
the skull, the 1-inch fracture on the skull, the 1/2-inch laceration on the left arm, fracture of the left humerus, fracture of the left radius and ulna, red contusion on the right side of the chest, healed rib fractures, and the drugs in baby Dylan's system. These are the injuries caused to Dylan Groves by Jessica Groves. Finally, you might ask, why put everybody through this ordeal? Why put everybody through this trauma? The answer is because she's going to do the right thing right now. And that right thing is
Again,
to take personal
spoiler alert, no
responsibility
the
for
hell
her
she
crimes and
doesn't.
sins. And that right thing also is to protect and defend an innocent man. Daniel Groves had nothing to do with the death of Dylan Groves and did not cause these injuries. He was foolishly unaware of these injuries. And I say foolishly because hindsight's always 20/20. And sometimes you're oblivious to what.
Oblivious. Okay, husband oblivious is like when I ask my husband, did you use your eyes or my eyes to look for the ketchup in the pantry? That's husband oblivious. Not noticing a big damn bruise on your baby's forehead or your wife tweaking out on cocaine. That is not husband oblivious. That is stupid. That is just dumb enough to be true. I mean, sir, I applaud you for being able to say these words like you believe them, but I applaud you.
What's going on. This is especially true from someone you have known for 20 years and that you have loved. Dylan Groves died on March 28th, and Daniel found him unresponsive. Once he found him, panic and confusion set in. And with that panic and confusion came poor decisions that leads us all to here today. Did he help hide the body? Yes. Did he suggest the well? Yes, he knew where this well was. Did he help craft a coffin and preserve Dylan? Yes, he did. But that is all he did. Jessica Groves is the person responsible for the death of Dylan Groves. She is here in front of you today, taking personal responsibility for her crimes and her sins. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, so I will talk about this. David from MLS Law, David Helms, Making Law Simple, he talks a lot about, making something else the monster. So this lawyer is definitely trying to do that with making addiction the sort of monster. It's not my client that did this. The addiction is the thing that is really the monster out there. Now, I think on another case, if this had been, let's say she had gotten into a fender bender or something like that, you definitely could do this. But in a case so charged as this, and with her behavior on the stand later on in this trial, she does not one thing to help herself with this particular sanctimonious sort of, I am, coming here to repent and purge myself of my sins, because she definitely doesn't do that. Spoiler alert. But this is not the case to do that. In fact, saying that her husband was completely oblivious is suspending disbelief to the point that you would have to, believe the Power Rangers will come out at any moment to fight, Gigatron. It's not going to happen. I mean, again, there's normal level husband oblivious, like, hey, if I go look and find the ketchup in the pantry, I'm going to be pissed off because your husband dies, versus, oh, you didn't know that, your wife beat the ever-living poo out of your son. It's a little bit hard to, suspend disbelief that you were in the same house with this woman and you didn't notice that your son was black and blue. It's a little bit hard to believe.
Scott, you may address the jury.
And now this will be Daniel Grove's lawyer because they are kind of the same but separate defenses. I think they do work together
Ladies
to
and
kind of
gentlemen of the jury, good morning.
correlate.
And as Ms. Hutchinson spoke to you all today, we definitely thank you
Deep
for your
conditioner.
service here in this matter, your time and attention in this matter. And as I talked to you a little bit yesterday, what I believe is an honor to participate in this system that is very unique to our country. And we do appreciate the full attention that I know that you will give to the seriousness of this case. And obviously, it's a very upsetting topic and very disturbing topic that we do, and that Ms. Hutchinson has already apologized to you that we're going to have to discuss with you all over the next several days. I'm not sure if you were expecting to hear what Mr. Stratton has already spoken to you about. But obviously, ladies and gentlemen, we would argue and support that position in this matter, that Ms. Groves is the principal perpetrator in this matter. And that is in a
True.
position that has actually been held by the state in this case since this case was arraigned right here in this courtroom. In fact, Ms. Hutchinson actually called Jessica Groves.
Objection, Your Honor. We approach the bench.
Ooh, I want to see what Madonna and Cyndi Lauper have to say to each other.
Any opening statements, whether offered by the prosecution or the defense, are not evidence, but they are merely designed to assist you in following the evidence in this case.
Thank you, Your Honor. As I was saying, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, even the state in this case, and Ms. Hutchinson, as far as that
Absolutely, yes.
arraignment
The
in
woman
this
who
matter,
adopted Dylan
when
for a
this
short
case
time,
was right here in this court
she-
for the very
yes.
first time, actually labeled Ms.
It's a very
Groves
sad
principal
story.
perpetrator. That will be the position that Mr. Groves will hold. That is the position that actually Jessica Groves is going to own in this matter, as you've heard from the opening statement. You also heard Mr. Tiemann yesterday in his voir dire and questioning of the jury. He said that they have the burden, they have the standard that they have to prove, and I will ask you that you hold them to that standard for each and every case, each and every charge in this matter. They are the ones that have to prove each and every element. They have to provide you evidence, facts that support each and every one of those charges that my client is facing before you. And I would ask that you hold them to that burden, hold them to that standard, hold them to that beyond a reasonable doubt that he spoke to you about yesterday, that the judge is going to fully instruct you on. We're going to ask that you make sure, prior to rendering your verdict, that you either have the facts that support that case or you do not have the facts to support that case, and you weigh that against beyond a reasonable doubt. We would ask that you would listen to all the evidence, listen to all the testimony before you make up your mind in this case. And I'm sure this case is going to be very emotional, this is going to be very taxing, and it's going to anger you. If it doesn't, I'll be very surprised. But I want to ask you and to remind you to render a fair and a just verdict here, one that matches the law that you will be instructed on. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard my co-counsel in this matter, Mr. Stratton, who's representing Mrs. Groves, talk about how my client participated in helping her dispose of the body. You heard Ms. Hutchinson get up here and tell you that my client actually, after some misconception, that he did lead the law enforcement agency to the recovery of Dylan's body. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. He only helped dispose of the body. He did eventually cooperate with the police because he couldn't lie about it anymore. And I believe that you will hear law enforcement come in and talk to you about that. He led them to where Dylan had been placed. He did not cause his death. He never kidnapped him. He never caused his death. He never endangered him. He never interfered with custody. He never caused harm to this child. He cannot be the source of felonious assault that he has also been charged with. And that's what I want you to listen for. Either that's going to be proven or not proven throughout this case. And it is our position that that will not be proven by the state. That will be accounted for by the actions of Jessica Groves, and she is going to own all of those actions, and she will tell you in her own words, or we anticipate her telling you in her own words, how, whether you call it my client was blind, whether you call it that he was foolishly unaware, as Mr. Stratton pointed out, he may have been, ladies and gentlemen, but he had no
Useless
knowledge.
as tits on a bull.
He had no participation, and he was not the source of the injuries that resulted in Dylan's death. Once again,
No, he just
listen
ignored
to
them
all
and
of the
let his
evidence.
wife beat the crap out
Listen
of
to the
him.
testimony before coming to your conclusion and render a fair and just verdict in this matter. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Scott.
Okay, so we can definitely start with day one. Oh,
Is the state ready
It
to
just
proceed
goes-
with their presentation
Woo!
of evidence?
We are, Your Honor.
Call your first witness.
wow, I'm a genius. I picked a playlist.
What's the name again, Mr. Team?
Darian Lyles.
Darian with a D.
Yeah, D-A-R-I-A-N-N-E. Ms. Lyles.
Be using this real soon. Okay. Bailiff says there's no one in the hallway, Mr. Team. You may. Recently, there is a legal issue that I need to take care of. Things went a little slow yesterday, so the witnesses were told to be here a little later. So we're going to move along on this a little quicker now. So I am going to take a quick recess here so I can address this legal issue.
Hey,
will
I love
remind you
it.
of my earlier admonition to you that I gave to you, I think, several times yesterday. Do not discuss this case amongst yourselves. Do not permit anyone to discuss it with you or in your presence. It is your duty not to form or express an opinion on this case until it is finally submitted to you. This time I am going to release you to the custody of the bailiff to go to the jury room. Hopefully he's got some coffee and snacks and some refreshments down there for you, and we will start back here shortly.
Y'all know I have been picked for jury duty for the whole year, so I can be called for jury duty at any time. You know I would raise my hand if I get past the first stage and be like, look, I know we can't talk about the case, but can I make fun of what y'all wear? Asking for a friend. Just in case. I mean, never mind.
Court is recessed. Back on the record, State of Ohio versus Daniel Groves and State of Ohio versus Jessica Groves. Case numbers 19 CR 586 A and B. Counsel and defendants are present. The jury has been excused to the jury room while we await the state's first witness. I was going to do this during the first break. First break came a little earlier than what I anticipated. This morning we discussed with Ms. Groves outside of the jury's presence her intent to testify in this matter. We discussed a little bit about defense strategy, and I thought this might be a good opportunity for me to have a short conversation with her regarding that. Ms. Groves, you've heard your lawyer's opening statement in this matter. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. We had some discussions this morning about your
True.
ultimate defense strategy in this matter. Was that
I'll get
consistent
dismissed
with
as
your
soon as
strategy
I tell them
as
what
you
I do
intend
for
to
a
present your defense in this matter?
tax-deductible hobby.
All right. Have you had plenty of opportunity to consult with him about this strategy?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
You understand that state still has to prove their case in this matter regardless of his opening statement, but you understand that potentially that, at least in some respects in this, some counts of this indictment could harm your chances as to an ultimate outcome. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
And you contemplated this before you proceeded with this strategy, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions for me? Anything you need to bring to my attention at this point?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Do you need any time to discuss this case further with your lawyer before we proceed with the state's presentation of evidence?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Scott, do you have anything?
Not at this time, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Teeman, anything from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Court is recessed. Mr. Teeman, as soon as your first witness is here, we'll start it.
She's walking in now, Your Honor.
All right.
Your Honor is like, I was gonna go pay. Jessica was like, I have to fake cry now? Damn it. Okay, let me.
Of Ohio, we'll call Darianne Lyles.
Okay, and this is one of the maternity nurses that dealt with the Groves when they delivered baby Dylan.
Please raise your right hand for me, please. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and
Hello,
nothing but the
crime
truth, so help
spies.
you God. Okay, please have a seat. Now, ma'am, there is media here in the courtroom today. Do you have any objection if your image is filmed or photographed during your testimony? All right. You state your full name for the court reporter, please.
Darian Lyles.
Mr. Teeman, you may inquire.
Ma'am, would you still spell your first name for the court reporter?
D-A-R-I-E-N-N.
Oh, please use your microphone.
D-A-R-I-E-N-N-E?
Yes.
Okay.
My sound
And your last name
boosters aren't
Lyles,
going up.
L-I-L-E-S? All right,
You need to speak up. Talk to him like he's clear across the room.
Okay.
which I pretty much am. Where are you from, ma'am?
Lucasville, Ohio.
Okay. And what's your educational background?
I have an associate's degree in nursing from Shawnee State and a bachelor's from Ohio University.
And what kind of licensure as a nurse does that give you?
A registered nurse.
All right. Are you employed?
Yes.
What's your employment history?
I've worked at Southern Ohio Medical Center for 3 years, a year in the emergency department and 2 years in maternity.
Southern Ohio Medical Center, what is that?
The medical center here in town, the hospital here in town.
Is that a full-service hospital?
Yes.
And you'd indicated you'd worked there for 3 years?
Yes.
Where are you currently stationed?
Maternity.
Okay. And where were you stationed in January of 2019?
Maternity.
Okay. What are your duties in maternity?
We provide care to the laboring patient. We evaluate the status from the time of arrival to delivery, assist in care after delivery with initiation of breastfeeding and postpartum care, things like that.
Have you ever heard the term triage?
Yes.
What does that refer to?
Triage is where we evaluate patients on a basis of need. We determine if they are in labor, if they need NSTs. We evaluate the mother, the baby, and their well-being.
Okay. And I know you think you're speaking loud, but if you can speak a little more loudly so we can hear, okay? Ma'am, I'd like to direct your attention to January 10th of 2019. Were you working that day?
Yes, I was.
Do you recall what hours you were working?
I would have worked 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
All right. So that being January 10th, are you talking about on January 9th you would have worked at 7 p.m.?
Yes, I would have came in on the evening of the 9th.
And then and then you would have been relieved of duty on 7 a.m. the morning of the 10th?
Yeah, about 7:30 in the morning.
Okay. And where were you working that morning?
I was in triage that morning.
Okay. Where is triage located in the hospital?
It is at the entrance of the double doors of maternity, the first door on the left.
Okay. Were there other nurses or employees working with you in maternity that day?
Yes, that night there were a few of us in triage. There was me and Amanda Jones.
Okay. What was that evening like at maternity? Was it busy? Was it steady?
It was slow. It was a slow evening.
What about that morning of January 10th? How was it then?
Slow until this delivery. Then it became somewhat hectic.
Okay. Do you recall on that morning individuals by the names of Groves coming in to maternity?
Yes, I do.
All right. And approximately when did they come in?
5:25 in the morning.
And do you recall their names without looking at your medical records?
Yes, Jessica Groves and Daniel Groves.
And are they in the courtroom here today?
Yes,
If you could point them out for the judge.
right over there.
Okay.
She's pointed to and identified the defendants in this matter.
Thank you, Your Honor. To your knowledge, why were the Groves in the hospital that day?
Jessica believed she was in labor.
What is the typical procedure or protocol you follow when someone comes in purportedly in labor?
Usually when a patient presents.
I can answer that. That's one question I can answer as a mom of 6. They'll put you in triage, they'll see if you're dilated, and if you're anything under 4, they'll give you an hour to see if labor's gonna kick in. Yeah, it's hard to explain. I feel if 10 out of 10 was me being on the ball and firing on all cylinders, I'm a 6 out of 10 today. Like, I feel much better than yesterday, but I'm still a little bit more space cadet-y than usual. It, that's kind of how I feel. It's a little bit hard to explain. I wish I could explain a little bit better, but it's kind of like you're coming out of a bad flu. Not everything is firing as well as it does normally. Your brain's kind of still foggy. It's just kind of foggy stuff. But that's what we do. I can answer that one, but I'll let her explain.
Presents to triage and believes they're in labor, we would typically get a urine sample, weigh the patient, go over their prenatal records, question them about their pregnancy, any complications, ask them about the baby and their visits to the physician. And then from that, we will do a cervical exam and usually recheck them within an hour if advanced dilation is not the case.
Why all the questions?
It is important for us to have a good idea of the care that the mother has received, any complications with mother or baby. That way we can be prepared for delivery, for adequate care for the mother and the infant.
When someone comes in for treatment at the hospital, is there any documentation that is made of the patient and the treatment provided?
Yes, we document everything we do in Watch Child.
Okay. What types of documentation do you make?
We document things like how they presented to us, when they came, what they stated about their care, what their urine drug screen showed, and what they were dilated, things like that.
The Southern Ohio Medical Center maintains such records in the ordinary course of its business. Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Let the record reflect I'm handing what has been marked as State's Exhibit 1 to opposing counsel for their inspection.
Yes, they did document. Holy crapola.
The record reflect I'm handing witness what has been
Oh,
marked as
you're
State's Exhibit
fine.
1.
You know, real life does happen.
Ma'am, this is kind of unwieldy. This is a microphone under here, so if you can attempt not to lay this heavily down on the microphone, that'd be appreciated by the court reporter. If you would take a chance and take a moment and look at through that.
Very possible. I feel bad for her. She probably came directly from doing rounds
Do you
to
recognize those
have to
documents?
testify.
What do those documents purport to be?
These are her prenatal flow sheets, records, and documentation of her labor.
Does this appear to be a medical record maintained by Southern Ohio Medical Center for Jessica Groves?
Yes, it does.
Does it appear to be a true and accurate copy of that record?
Yes, it does.
Ma'am, from time to time, unless there's an objection, if you need to refresh your recollection as to those records, you may do so. Are you part of those records in your treatment and care of Ms. Groves at that time?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Make sure you speak up for the court reporter, okay?
I want to take you back to the Groves' initial interactions and appearance at the hospital. What were your observations of Ms. Groves at that time?
When Jessica presented to us in triage, she had come via wheelchair from the emergency department. She was very flat, disconnected, and uncooperative with our care. She kept stating, it's coming, and that is all we could get from her.
What was your first step at that point with the care of Ms. Groves?
At that point, we assumed she was most likely in labor. We started asking her questions such as how many weeks she was, if this was her first baby, who was her physician, had she had any complications with the pregnancy, and she did not answer any of our questions.
Was there anything about that that was unusual to you?
Yes, it was. We see this sometimes where they present this way in pain and cannot answer, but that was not the case here. It was more uncooperative and just usually people will give some sort of information. That way we can at least have their name and look for medical records.
Did anybody provide you or other hospital staff with the information to those questions?
No, at one point we were given her name by her husband, and that was all.
What was her physical condition at that point?
She did not seem to us that she was in much pain for somebody that was about to have a baby, just in the wheelchair, and at that point we moved her to a bed to evaluate her.
What's the process at that point for a nurse or and the staff at the hospital with regard to somebody that's in labor? What do you do after you move her to the bed?
Typically, we would have gotten a urine sample before, and we could not have done that here. So once we done a cervical exam and realized that she was complete, we moved her to the closest room to triage.
Why were you unable to get a urine sample?
For a couple reasons. She refused initially, and then after we done a cervical exam, when a patient is complete, we usually don't allow them at that point to stand. We would have put her on a bedpan once we got to the room.
Okay. What do you mean by complete?
It is in reference to a cervical exam. Closed is 0. It goes from 0 to 10, 10 being the furthest dilation. The patient is ready to deliver.
What happens at that point?
At that point, we usually call the doctor, start an IV, assess fetal well-being, keep mother on the monitor, things like that.
And were those steps taken with Ms. Groves?
Yes, they were.
Was there any point when you did get additional information as to her condition or prenatal care?
No, she would never give us any information. While pushing, when the baby was about to deliver, the father finally spoke up and said that she had used heroin 2 days ago.
All right. And that father being Daniel Groves,
Yes,
who you identified earlier?
yes.
Is there a protocol that comes into effect when you
Sounds
learn
good,
that
Dennis.
someone may have been abusing drugs and being pregnant?
Yes, it was also stated that the reason that they could not get to their prenatal care visits was because she was always too high. So at that point, we alerted nursery to the possibility that there would be a sick baby and the physician also, just for care of the mother after delivery.
What do you mean by nursery?
The nursery staff. On maternity, I would be a labor and delivery nurse, and in the back, there's a nursery, and we have separate nursery staff who are trained to take care of an infant.
All right. And this is all part of the maternity department
Yes,
at the
yeah.
hospital? Okay. So there's medical providers as well at the nursery. It's not just a place you have the baby sleep and rock, right?
Yes.
Okay. Fully equipped with medical care for the babies in the nursery?
Yes.
Now, in your daily experience with patients at Southern Ohio Medical Center, do you ever see patients that are under the influence of drugs?
Yes, I do. I worked in the emergency department for a year before I worked in maternity, so I seen it frequently there. And then, unfortunately, we do see it a lot on maternity also.
And from your training experience, are there signs that indicate to you possible substance abuse?
Yes, usually how the patient presents, how cooperative the patient is, their affect, things like that. Yeah.
You've gone over some of those, and you testified that there was indications by statements that she had abused drugs. What other observations did you make of Jessica Groves with regard to potential substance abuse?
Initially, what alarmed us was that she was complete and not in pain. That's very, very unusual for somebody who we've not administered pain medication to. Very disconnected, would not respond to what we were saying. Things like that usually allow us to see that patients seem to be under the influence. She was not moaning, was not the typical patient who is delivering a baby.
All right. Let's talk about delivery for a minute. We'll go to that. Describe the typical delivery for patients in this condition.
It's usually a smooth delivery, honestly. It's usually quick and easy for them. There's not much laboring. Most of it has been done at home prior to coming to the hospital for the care. This was very typical of...
Just to make sure I'm understanding, you're talking about delivery when people who are abusing substances?
Yes.
Okay. The number of staff that SOMC staffs for such a delivery increase, or do they maintain the same?
It is the same, but if staff is available to help, we help.
Were you assisting with the delivery?
Yes, I was.
Were there any medications provided at that time for the delivery?
No, there was not. Since we were unable to initially get a urine sample from her, we will not give narcotics. And also because she was so close to delivery, it is not good for babies breathing to administer narcotics that close to delivery. So no, she was not given any medications prior to delivery.
Ma'am, you'd indicated that you could not get urine results or a urine test done earlier because of a number of reasons. Was a urine analysis ultimately done with regard to her?
Yes, it was. We asked her to void on a bedpan for us once she got to the room, and she also refused, so we had to straight cath her for a sterile specimen before any medications were given so that it would not interfere with the drug screen.
Okay. And was this before or after delivery?
This was before.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Let the record reflect, I'm handing two separate documents to counsel.
Well, one you can cure.
2, 3.
I don't know how Jessica Groves would react to radiation. Allegedly. For science.
Ma'am, I'm handing you over the marked statements
She might
of
become a
Exhibit
superhero
3.
or villain.
Look at those and identify them for the court.
These are drug screens.
Whose drug screens are they purported to be?
Jessica Groves.
And would those be part of that larger folder binder you have in front of you as well?
Yes, they would be.
Okay. Is this the urinalysis drug
I
screen
don't
that you
think you're supposed to
referenced
put
earlier
eyeshadow
in
all
your
the way up
testimony?
to your eyebrow, but I could be wrong.
Yes.
I haven't done makeup all
State's
that
Exhibit
long,
2,
so
and I'll put them up here.
really only in the
Jury
last
C.
8 months since I've been streaming.
Okay.
Can you see that okay over there?
Yes.
All right. What is State's Exhibit 2?
She has tested positive for amphetamines.
All right. So we have, being she, is this Jessica D. Groves?
Yes.
And this was registration on January 10th, 2019. Is this the morning we've been talking about?
Yes.
Okay. And we have test results here. If you could explain to the jury the layout of this form.
Over here on the left column is the the drugs we are testing for. On the side is the result. So none detected means the patient there was none detected that close to the urine, and the positive means that there was use of that.
Referring to the positive column, it looks like there's one to the right of urine amphetamine screen. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it says AB, I assume that is that unconfirmed,
Yes.
positive. POS being positive?
Yes.
All right. And then we go through there below that, on the other columns, we see none detected. Is that right?
Yes.
Including the heroin?
Yes.
And then at the bottom, we see, what do we see there at the bottom?
Is an explanation of how they run the test.
Okay. So there's an explanation how they run the test, and below that, there's what's a urine methamphetamine screen?
Yes.
And does that also say positive?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And do you understand why these are marked unconfirmed?
Yes, we do. It has recently changed. It used to just say positive, and there was a couple incidents where there was mess-ups with the testing, so they decided to send this out. If there was a positive, they have this and they can retest it if need be.
All right, so if you could, make sure I understand this, the jury understands this. So they get the urine sample.
Mhm.
Is that a yes? You need to say yes or no
Yes.
instead of?
Yeah.
Okay. And then they test it,
Yes.
okay, and then they send it off to confirm that test?
Yes, they will send it down to our lab at SOMC and test the urine.
I have what's been marked as State's Exhibit 3. Can you see that okay from over there?
Yes.
And what is State's Exhibit 3?
This is further testing and the amount that was found in the urine.
All right.
It
So
seems to
is
be.
this the result after they send the urine down to the lab for testing?
Yes.
Okay. So we see the same columns to the left, a little bit different writing. And then on the right side, we see the result. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And did State's Exhibit 3, did the lab confirm the positive results?
Yes.
Could you be more off center, sir? You're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls.
Now, we had been discussing the delivery, and you indicated that, have you had a number of patients that have delivered under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
Yes, we have.
All right. And have you become familiar with those deliveries by assisting in the deliveries in some way?
Yes.
All right. You indicated that the labor is usually smoother or easier.
Yes, it is.
Were there any differences between Those kinds of cases of labor with those under addiction and Ms. Groves, is there anything different about hers versus theirs?
Yes, there was. I mean, some characteristics of the delivery were typical, but even mothers who present to us under the influence of drugs will usually give us enough information when we are telling them, we told her multiple times, we just want to know so we can help your baby. We need to be prepared to take care of your baby. And she was still very uncooperative and would not give us an answer. We do this just to be ready for any of the care that the baby will need, not to punish or incriminate the mother in any way.
Hello, Dolly. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So we are on maternity nurses. It looks like this one is an hour, so we'll probably stop with nurse number
Okay.
1 and then pick up nurse number 2 the next time we come at this. This is a fairly short trial. I think it's 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, that's what I
So,
remember.
but I wish there were a way they could just give her a regular mic because she's so soft and I have everything sound boosted to like 173,000%.
Yeah. Or just like get closer.
Yeah, I don't know why they have this little tortoise shell mic. Doesn't
Yeah.
seem to be helping. Oh, Xcomer has a,
I've got so many names.
he prefers Salbert
Yeah. Sal
in
is
that
fine.
tone.
Thank you though.
Yes. And then we'll probably stop. Is she excited starting at 4 or were we
6
doing?
p.m. Eastern.
Okay, that's what I thought. But then I was like, my brain. All
Of
right.
course.
So this was very unlike what we are used to. This delivery
I'd hope.
stood out to us very vividly for this reason. We could not get anyone to cooperate with our care, the care we wanted to provide. So yes, in that sense, it was very different.
Physically, is there still indicia of pain exhibited by the people delivering the mothers, or with the case of addicted parents, is that not as big an issue?
Usually, yes, there will still be, towards the end, I'm not sure there's much that masks the very end of labor. But in this case, no, there was not much inclination of her being in pain.
Oh, it's Cat Cam.
Junior.
Do you recall,
Who's not
ma'am,
happy?
how long it was from when Ms. Groves came to the hospital to birth?
Jessica presented us at 5:25 a.m. in the morning, and she delivered at 5:54 that same morning.
Holy Toledo.
So roughly 30
She was
minutes.
ready to go.
Was there any complications with the delivery from the child's perspective?
No.
Did you have an opportunity to see the child after delivery?
Yes, I did. After he was delivered, they laid him on the mother's chest for a brief second and then took him to the warmer. Due to, unknown Hep C status, we usually give the babies baths immediately just to be safe, and he ended up needing oxygen, so they transferred him to the nursery.
Why is that important in these circumstances to be aware of Hep C?
When a mother has admitted to drug use, we try to be on the safe side. If a mother is Hep C positive, has admitted this to us, or has tested positive, we give the babies a bath right after delivery, so there is a minimal risk to the infant. And since we did not know in this case, but we knew drug history was a factor stated by the husband, we went ahead and gave him a bath. Nursery staff did.
All right, we'll approach.
Holy, another binder? Another binder of truth.
Your Honor, let the record reflect what shown in opposing counsel what has been marked as State's Exhibit 4.
Okay. Sal, why are they giving binders when he's just going to pass her a single leaf of paper? I mean, I get the point because she has to look at all the paperwork and then
Yeah.
he can quickly get.
I,
But
well,
you wonder why your insurance is so high is because they have to document all this bullshit.
Let
I
the
mean,
record reflect I'm
allegedly.
handing the witness what has been marked as State
Jesus
Exhibit
Christ.
4. Ma'am, take a moment and look through that if you would.
Okay.
Ma'am, what is that,
You look through 3 pages.
what have I handed you that's marked State's Exhibit 4?
This is the medical record of Dylan Groves.
Does this appear to be a true and accurate, complete copy of the medical records maintained by Southern Ohio Medical Center for Dylan Groves?
Yes, it does.
And are these the medical records of the Dylan Groves that Jessica Groves gave birth to on January 10th, 2019?
Yes.
You testified briefly about the delivery, that you were there. Were there any complications with the baby as a result of the delivery?
No.
Were there any physical injuries to the child?
No.
Did the baby have any complications as a result, potentially, of the mother's drug use?
Potentially, yes. When the baby was born, it was charted that he was dusky and pale, not breathing well, he was retracting. These are things we usually see after excessive drug use in an infant.
In those situations, what's the protocol that is in place for a child born?
Usually nursery staff will take the infant right to the warmer, do an assessment, and if need be, take the infant to
Take the mom to
nursery
Snake
where
Island?
we can administer
Pretty
oxygen
much.
and do further testing and evaluation.
Were there
I
any
believe it's also going to come out later that I think he was 3 to 4 weeks premature. So, and now this could be medically not true, but I have been told by several doctors that boys in particular, it seems to take longer for their lungs to mature. So, boys tend to just have a harder time breathing if they are born premature sometimes. Yeah. And if they're of the paler complexion. So one of my doctors even labeled it wimpy white boy syndrome. It's just I don't know if she made that up to make me feel better. I'm not sure. Look, you might be a little hormonal and cray-cray when you are hooked up to all the machines trying not to be in labor. So she might have wanted to make a joke. But yeah, these are all things that, could have affected, but majorly probably being premature and not having good prenatal care and being addicted to all the things were not good.
Yeah. That
And
makes sense.
Snake Island. Also, could if you're on defense and you've got 2 characters that no one's gonna like,
Yeah.
maybe not looking like Ma and Pa Kettle from like hell. I mean, maybe look a little contrite. Don't look there like you're trying to do a calculus problem and you're both too moronic to figure it out.
Yeah.
And
show-
Jessica,
Yeah.
Jessica, you're supposed to be over there looking all like, I did it. I is sorry. I was very sorry. I'm sad. She's over here writing notes like, nuh-uh.
Oh, I just came up with a winning strategy.
What?
Oh, no, that's what she's writing
Oh,
down.
yeah. I mean, look, there's nothing that you're going to sell to make these 2 people not with a fact
Yeah.
pattern in this case. But you could at least have them not look like people you want to take to the nearest back alley, allegedly.
Yeah.
I mean, they both look like they are bored to death and could be anywhere else. It just, ugh. Ugh. We shall continue.
tests conducted on baby Dylan?
I stayed with the mother at that point, so that I'm not aware of.
Okay. From your review of the medical record, were there any tests conducted by baby Dylan?
Got to make sure she gets the best care.
Let me look and see.
Well, she's not going to be the nursery nurse.
Fair.
So they'll probably Tori Howell will be
Hmm.
the nursery nurse. I mean, you could have had Johnny Cochran, and I don't think with this fact pattern
Fair.
he's going to get them off. He's going to be
Yeah.
like, I mean, would you like to hear me play saxophone? I mean, what they should have done, and they should have just both seen if they got a plea deal. Now, the way that state prosecutor went off as the
Yeah.
avatar for all of us because these two people are garbage human beings, I don't know that they would have gotten a plea deal, but
Yeah.
the way these two behaved, they killed their case. Whatever sympathy you had for either two of them being, lost in an addiction,
Yeah.
their behavior was gross.
Jesus.
Yes, initially they would have done like APGAR scoring on him when he was first born, and then after that, they took him immediately to the.
Okay, so APGAR is kind of a 0 to 10 score. It's an easy way that they quickly assess babies. Again, having been there 6 times, you generally want a 10. There's, they check breathing, color, several different things. I kind of forget what it is, but you generally want a 10. That means that everything is good. Lower scores, like, look, I know y'all are going to be shocked, but the youngest, most feral, decided that he was going to not really breathe when he came out because he wanted all the attention. So they had to whisk him away to the NICU. So his APGAR score was 4, and he was all floppity. He tried to
Yikes.
give me a heart attack.
So, just like he was alive, but then when he came out,
Well, yeah, the cord was wrapped around his neck, and he came out so quickly
oh,
that generally, it's just to not get too graphic and to explain to you how babies come.
Mhm.
But basically, the trip down ye old birth canal squeezes all the gunk and liquid out of the lungs. And if, say, your mother gave birth to a 10-pound brother before you, and you're somewhat smaller, you tend to shoot out a little bit, I guess.
I never knew that that squeezes out the lungs. That's interesting.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
1 second.
No worries.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to start this up.
The nursery and
Okay.
place him on
No
oxygen, so
problem.
any testing would have been on hold for a moment.
Okay. Ma'am, have you heard the term postpartum?
Yes, I have.
What's that referred to in the hospital setting?
In our hospital setting, postpartum is after the mother delivers. She transfers from like a laboring patient or antepartum to postpartum care. Is the mother and baby couplet.
Thank you. So what's the typical postpartum scenario for a mother and child after delivery?
Typically, after delivery, the infant is placed right on the mother's chest. We encourage skin to skin. Mothers are allowed to do this as long as they wish. After that, usually the infants are swaddled so family can pass the baby around, hold the baby. Siblings will come watch a bath, things like that.
Now, in this case, were there differences as a result of the baby's condition?
Yes, there was. Because of how Dylan acted when he was born, he was taken to the nursery and put on oxygen. And after that, Jessica or Daniel did not request to see him.
You'd indicated earlier that Dylan was briefly laid on Jessica. What's the purpose of that?
Usually that is typical. We lay the infant directly on the mother's chest. It's best for them to, feel the mother, be on the mother for temperature reasons. And then almost immediately after they realized that he did not was not acting like a normal newborn. So then they took him to the warmer.
Did you have the opportunity to observe Jessica's demeanor at that point in time?
Yes, I did.
What was her demeanor like?
Almost the same as she presented, in the sense of a brand new baby, not interested.
I hate her. Can we already take her to Snake Island?
At that point in time, just after delivery, did the mother have any medical complications?
No, she did not.
Did she have any, to your knowledge, later that day?
Yes, she did.
What did she have later that day?
Poor thing.
Later in the day, she had a postpartum hemorrhage.
How many hours from birth was that, to your knowledge?
Roughly 4 hours after.
No, you are
what were your
supposed to be
duties
being a
after this,
chaperone. You are
after the delivery?
derelicting your duties, sir.
Usually after the delivery, we stay with the mothers to assess their well-being. Even if the infant stays or goes, we stay with mother to watch for things like that, make sure there's not going to be a postpartum hemorrhage, to initiate breastfeeding. Any concerns of the mother we address.
Was there any request by the mother to have Dylan brought back to her at this time?
No, there was not.
Was there any request by the mother to go to the nursery?
No, there was not.
Well, that looks like the mom from Arrested
I'd like to direct your
Development
attention
on the
to-
left.
To Mr. Groves throughout this process. Do you recall
Have a good time
observations of
adulting.
Mr. Groves
Stay
after
warm
leaving the
and stay
hospital?
safe.
Yes, I
Bye,
did.
alternate
What were
juror.
those observations?
Bye.
He seemed worried and almost afraid.
All right. Did he do any interactions with you with regard, where was he at when you were asking Ms. Groves all these questions about her condition?
He was directly next to her in triage and when we moved her to the labor room. Whenever we were questioning her, they were both just making eye contact with each other, not acting like they were paying much attention to us until he finally gave us an answer about the drug use.
And did he provide additional information after that?
The only thing that was stated to me by him was that she had used heroin and that she was always too high to go to her prenatal care visits.
Oh, that's
When they
nice.
found
Is that a
out
wedding
she was
ring?
too high.
Yeah, they're married.
That's good.
Don't they make a...
So
well-
what? Yeah, but I assume they're in jail right now. So like
Well, they're not together in jail.
No, I
mean,
know,
She
but-
goes to...
they would take the wedding ring. So like, why is she wearing it in court?
I don't know. Well, because she is only in court. Sal, you didn't get the opening. They are represented by different lawyers, but
Oh,
she
yeah.
is only in court to claim that she is the only one that abused baby Dylan. And he is only in court to admit that he is the dumbest, most oblivious man in the entire human planet. Mr. Magoo has nothing on this man. He was oblivious to everything that Jessica was doing. And when he found out, he panicked and decided to make 2 milk crates into a coffin because, as you do.
Okay.
But he definitely had nothing to do with the unaliving. That was all her.
Scout's honor.
But yeah, but he was along for, he had no idea what was
Okay.
going on. As you do in your own house, which is a double wide trailer. And again, no offense to anyone living in trailers. I'm not saying anything about that. What I am saying is, sir, there's a difference between husband's eyes for trying to find some ketchup or like the dryer sheets and not noticing your wife is beating the hell out of your newborn. There's different levels of stupid I'll allow on the, you know. Fry, you are supposed to be being a chaperone. I want to hear none of your lip.
Speak up, okay? You got a soft voice, and they need to hear you in the back of the courtroom.
Okay. The only thing that he said to us was that she had used heroin 2 days ago and that when they would want to go to her prenatal care visit, she was always too high to go.
Where was Mr. Groves at during delivery?
Directly next to Jessica.
Okay. Did anything stand out to you about his demeanor at delivery?
Yes, just in the sense that we thought he was almost looking to her for permission to answer our questions. I could tell a couple of times he wanted to say things or answer, and he did not.
I'm not sure the jury was able to pick up all that. Could you repeat your answer?
Yes, he was looking to Jessica for permission, it seemed to us. He would look at her when we would ask questions and we thought he was going to answer what we would say, and not until we told him that it was only for baby. We only wanted to know so we could take care of their baby, was that he answered and allowed us to be clued into her drug use.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to observe Mr. Groves after the delivery?
Yes.
What was he doing then?
After delivery, they both became almost consumed with each other. They were both
Aw.
just making eye contact, and neither one asked about the baby or walked over to the warmer to see the baby or followed to the nursery to go with him.
Is this typical from your observations of births?
No, it is not.
Well, nothing looks awkward about that. Oh God, she left me the channel.
Were you ever in the nursery as part of your duties?
No, I was not.
Did you have any other interactions with
Sorry.
Mr. or Mrs. Groves
Fry had to go out.
after the stuff we
He
talked
was doing
about
his.
today?
No, after her delivery and after they took Dylan to the nursery, we stayed and finished up with some of her care and finished her admission screen. And that is when she told us things like she did not have a car seat for the infant or anywhere safe for him to sleep. Those are things we screened for. And other than following up with her care like that, no, I did not have any interaction with them.
What was her affect when she was discussing the things she would need for the baby?
Almost the same. The whole general vibe, or almost her behavior that we got, was this, that she did not care.
Seems like a perfect person to put it
And
in
again, this
the
happened
care of a
January
baby.
10th, 2019,
Yes, it did.
Children's Services has a lot to answer
about a
to.
year ago. Have you had hundreds of deliveries or procedures done between now and then?
Yes, we have.
I've noticed you haven't referred to the notes very much at all. Why does this stick out in your mind?
I do think it speaks volumes that all of us that cared for Jessica and Dylan remember this so vividly. The labor, the characteristics of the mother, the unattachment to a brand new baby is very out of the normal for what we see. Even mothers that present to us and are under the influence, they almost always want to hold their babies. They still want what's best for their babies, regardless of their state at that time. And I think what stuck out to us most is that there was just no concern for the infant at that time. It was, seemed to be concerned for herself and
She is getting
her state
upset
at that
about
time.
this. You can see
What about
she
the
does
father?
not
The father
agree.
just kind of just bumble around in this whole process.
And he's apathetic.
Is there anything unusual about his demeanor in this case?
Somewhat, yes. I think to us, we had thought that
I'm sure
Daniel
maternity nurses would
wanted to be more involved in
be
what
very
Well,
sympathetic.
Eris, I mean, it's a lot of speculation. It's a lot of opinion, but I think the defense attorneys kind of know that there's,
You just got to go through the motions.
well, are they going to argue speculation? And they did ask what stuck out to them. So I think he is asking a question, and I'm not a lawyer, y'all, but he is asking a question I think is open to speculation and opinion, because he did ask, why does this stick out? You're not looking at your notes. And she is going on to explain that. So I think if he had asked her, in your feelings, why did this? But because he's asking, hey, why are you not looking at your notes? I think he's sort of getting it in
Yeah.
that way. And I mean, they watch moms that, have stillbirths, have,
Yeah.
lose their babies, And she just said, moms that come in, addicted, uh, even they, are concerned about their babies to the point
Yeah.
where they'll admit certain things like, hey, this is not criminal stuff. We're not going to tell the cops or anything. But what have you been doing just for the safety of your baby? And Eris, yeah, I would recommend if you have time watching the storyboard about this that I used Google Whiteboard. I'm not very good at it yet. I did
Well,
use it. Uh, but just to kind of give you a feel for it, 10-cent kind of guide. Oh, well, thank you, Xcomer ZZ. And let me put you up on the board. I love it when a plan comes together, like the A team around here. Let's see, 4,600, 460,000 children go missing from the United States every year. How? Just one missing child here and the whole country turns upside down. Well, a lot of it right now
well, are they
is
white? We usually,
South.
sorry. I'm not saying
lot
that it should be that way. I'm saying that
A lot
Yeah.
of the digging I've done in the Child Protective Services, they are not living up to what their name says. More children get lost or put in dangerous homes than you would care to think about. Now,
have a Jeffrey
with
Epstein in your
the
country.
well, also we have regardless of political stance, you have a real crisis at the border where kids are being given to non-vetted parents or people that we don't even know if they're related to. It's
No, they said they are.
well, yeah. It's just it's crazy how the very facilities the very things that we have put in place to protect children are harassing good families and just ignoring terrible families.
But
I
you're
mean,
doing OnlyFans.
true that. True that. So, well, I do try. What can I say? Thank you, Digger420, for joining us for a little bit, and feel free to join the rewatch crew. Godspeed, being a real person in real life. Godspeed. But what I will say is we have a lot of bureaucracy in all of these family wellness sort of things. We have ignored, and we have a lot of, let's say, third rail things that we have made that if we say anything out loud, if we, question, no, I don't have an OnlyFans. That was the last CPS thing that was put against me, is that I may have, instead of streaming, I was doing OnlyFans. Yeah, believe me. I was just as shocked as anyone else because I was like, who would want to see it?
Yeah.
6 kid, good day, Ghostery. But we've set up third rails in our society. So you can never get to a root of a problem because you're afraid you're going to offend or touch some sacred cow. And sorry, the swig is okay. So instead of actually getting to the root of a problem and fixing it, because the last thing a politician wants to do is fix a problem because then they'd be out of a job. But you also have these third rails and these sacred cows that you cannot, if you were to say the wrong thing and say the truth instead of the agreed upon lie that we have, that we've all agreed upon, and we try to pretty up with some nice words, then you get ostracized and you get told that you're all the ists and the phobe and the things when you're just trying to say, no, this is a real thing. Are we going to work on fixing it?
Yeah.
And it, it's hard to fix something if you're going to ignore certain problems. And I think that's a lot of the things that we're running into. We're running into, well, yeah. Well, I mean, there are some cliff divers, if you will. There's definitely protected classes, and there's definitely people that CPS will not go after because of certain tick boxes. And then there's families that CPS seems to go after because of other things that they just want to go after. It's really, our system
they have
needs
a
to be
quota.
gutted. Our system needs to be gutted and redone. And what we seem to do is just throw more money at it.
Oh, that doesn't solve the problem.
And that doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't make it any better. Look at Maryland. Baltimore, Maryland has $21,000 per student. Every student in Maryland gets $21,000 allotted to them per school year. Right now, their budget. And I think 3% of them can read and do math at the grade level. They're graduating.
Well, in their defense, the principal, assistant principal, superintendent, secretaries, they all need some money too. The kids don't need
ATS
it that
Aunt
much.
says, I work in a group home or group homes for mentally challenged people. There's something like 15 million mentally challenged kids that are dumped in home by people with intact homes and families. Look, there are big problems, and I wish there were easy answers to hard questions. That would be my very big wish. And there's not. And I think we're going to have to get to a point where we can have hard discussions, but not assume that the other side has bad moral character. And that's the thing that we cannot do right now, unfortunately, is have a conversation and not assume that people on the other side are Satan. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really sad, and I wish we could get to a point where we could have conversations, constructive conversations with people and just assume they're not wrong, they're not terrible, they just think differently and they have a different approach to the problem, and we could come up with good ideas. But we
Yeah.
can't do that right now.
It's not like they're communists.
Yeah, it's so sad. Like I said, I really do wish if I had one wish and if I were given 3 wishes. First, I would wish for a couple different things, and then my third wish would be easy answers for tough problems. And or the ability to send people to Snake Island. Look, I don't know, given the day, it might be one or the other. Depending on if the little Steve Gosney on my shoulder is apparent and there, and being the good Steve Gosney that he is, telling me to do good things. But let's get back to the trial.
He was allowed to be.
Thank you, ma'am. No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Tinman, Mr. Pepps, are you going first? Yes, sir. Cross-examine.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, no, we still got. Oh, crud.
Good morning, Ms. Lyles. I want to talk a little bit about your observations of Jessica.
Okay.
How did you describe it earlier?
She was very flat, disconnected, and very uncooperative with us.
Would you consider her to be belligerent?
No, I would not.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, at least she's not belligerent.
Would you consider Daniel to be belligerent during
Yeah,
your
otherwise that'd
interactions
be
with
wrong.
him?
No, I would not.
Okay.
Very true.
When you say they were not interested in Dylan, talk about that a little more. Was that just because they didn't ask to go see him, or?
No, usually when a baby is born, there's excitement, there's laughter, people are crying, a very happy vibe in the room. You know, the mothers are rubbing the baby and watching what they're doing. We've had mothers who are not using drugs, that their babies have to be taken to the warmer for a short period of time or for further evaluation. Usually they'll set up in the bed or ask what's going on with the baby. Fathers will step over to the warmer to be next to the baby to watch, or there's picture taking, things like that.
From your experience, did it seem to you that Jessica was a drug user or was using drugs?
It seemed to me that she was using drugs.
Okay. From your experience and her demeanor or observations?
Both her demeanor and her and my observation.
Does she testify?
Okay. When you have somebody that
Yes,
typically
and that
comes
is a
in that's
really
been using,
that is going to be a really hard testimony. I will try to give you guys a heads up. Have your Kleenex. I might get the vapors because, like I said, I mean, this woman, the foster mother,
How is she in the gallery though?
I believe that my guess is she probably counts as a victim.
Okay.
They might have been able to get her under as a victim.
Okay. That could be. Or they just didn't exclude anyone.
Yeah, or the defense is like, y'all,
Yeah.
look,
Why?
I've given up conditioning my hair. This guy looks befuddled a little bit. Like, he looks kind of like he's in Office Space. Like, yes, I did do my TPS reports. It is a Monday. I don't even know why I'm here. I wasn't even supposed to be here today. But her testimony is going to be hard. Her testimony is the testimony of a grieving parent.
Yeah.
So definitely I will try to give you guys a heads up, but you will need your tissues and stuff, because when these two dingleberries testify, you will have no tears except for tears of rage and the desire to send
Yeah.
them directly in a trebuchet to Snake Island. Thank you, Giraffe Gal. Let me put you up on the board. I knew I had that figured out. I love it when I write myself notes.
drugs. What's the difference between what typically happens in the situation here, or are they the same?
Typically, when we've had patients come in complete before that are using drugs, and typically when we ask questions, you know, who is your physician, or have you had prenatal care, even if they have not had any prenatal care, they tell us why, or they will tell us, you know, I think I'm this far along. They give us more kind of a history of their pregnancy or what they've known of their pregnancy. And we were not given any information in this case. So not typical.
You said Daniel seemed worried and afraid. Of what?
He seemed worried about Jessica.
Okay.
And then when we were asking questions, it seemed to us that he wanted to answer, but was worried of the repercussion maybe if he gave us the information that she was not giving.
Okay, so he was worried about the repercussions, correct?
Yes, from her.
Okay. And he appeared to be wanting to answer your questions, but was reluctant.
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Way to call your co-defense beta male right to his face. So you're saying my co-defense is a beta male?
I believe that Mr. Stratton covered some of the material that I wanted to cover with you as well. Your basic description of Jessica Groves was that she was uncooperative during this whole entire time, correct?
Yes.
You also mentioned that Daniel Groves did finally, at some point in time, fess up or confess and stated that he believed that his wife had consumed heroin at least 2 days prior to the birth.
Yes,
Although she didn't test positive for that, that's what he believed
yes,
and stated to you. Okay. Then you also described additional, even after the birth, that she remained uncooperative, even when asked, hey, we just need to help your baby, we need to know what's going on. So this pattern of uncooperativeness seemed to continue, is that correct?
yes, it did.
And then you also described some behavior on behalf of Daniel that appeared as if he was worried and almost afraid, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And then you also described behavior that almost looked like he was looking for permission to be able to answer these questions from Jessica Gross. Is that correct?
yes, it is.
Okay. So he appeared to be wanting to be cooperative, correct?
Correct.
And there was some kind of connection, some kind of threat, or some kind of perceived problem that would be caused if he was cooperative with you. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what we got. We didn't see Jessica do or say anything to him to tell him to stop. That is just sort of the,
Vibe you got?
yes,
Okay. That's what you picked up from him?
yes,
Okay.
Never did I think
And,
I'd hear the word
you
vibe
felt,
in
I
a court.
believe that your words were that you felt that Daniel wanted to be more involved in this process, but I wasn't for sure what word you exactly used, but almost as if Jessica's presence there and her control over him was almost intimidating him and not answering the question, correct?
correct.
And almost as if he would suffer some repercussions if he was honest and forthright, correct?
Correct.
Do you know, or did you have any discussions with him when he actually learned that Jessica was actually pregnant and carrying their child?
No, I did not.
Okay. I know that you mentioned that he mentioned not attending prenatal appointments because she would be too intoxicated.
Yes.
But you do not know when he actually learned that she was pregnant with her child, correct?
No, I do not.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's all I have this time.
Ms. Scott, Mr. Teeman, any redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms. Lyles.
Is this witness excused?
She is.
Defense excused her also.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
And you're free to go. Yes, you go into the bailiff. Okay. Mr. Teeman, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state will call Tori Howe.
Sorry, Ms. Hutchinson. Ma'am, will you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Ma'am, please have a seat. Ma'am, we do have media in the courtroom here today. Do you have any objection to your image being filmed or photographed during your testimony? All right. Now, you speak quietly. You're going to need to speak up real loud for the court reporter. Okay? Ms. Hutchinson, you may inquire.
Thank
Oh
you,
my
Your
gosh,
Honor.
she looks so
If you would
sweet.
introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name for our record.
Hi, my name's Tori Howell, H-O-W-E-L-L.
Ms. Howe, how are you employed?
I'm sorry.
How are you employed?
I'm employed by Southern Ohio Medical Center.
Okay. And what is your job title there?
I am currently a labor and delivery nurse. I switched from the nursery, but at this time I was a nursery nurse.
Okay. And how long have you been employed with Southern Ohio Medical Center?
Since June of 2017.
Okay. And if you would tell the members of the jury what some of your job duties were last year in January of 2019 as a nursery nurse.
So as a nursery nurse, we would go to the deliveries. We would take care of the baby at delivery. The baby needed extra help breathing. We would, try to resuscitate it. We would do the baths. We would do Finnegan assessments.
Let me interrupt you just for a second.
Yes.
What is a Finnegan assessment?
It's a Finnegan, it's a neonatal abstinence syndrome assessment that's done every 4 hours on every baby who has drug abuse, in its system or a history of it with the mom. And We do those every 4 hours to assess the baby, see how it's doing on its withdrawal symptoms.
Okay. What are some of the other things that you do as a nursery nurse with babies? Assessments or evaluations?
We sign the babies on 3 times a day. We do the baths, just different things. We have babies on Optiflow oxygen sometimes.
Okay. Are there evaluations or assessments that you do sometimes to determine the gestational age of the baby?
Yes,
Okay, explain that to the jury.
that's a Ballard assessment. So whenever the baby is born, every baby gets this done, and we do a Ballard assessment. So depending on how the baby looks, just different features, you know, if their wrist bends, you know, how their wrist bends, if it bends far back or not enough, we can determine about how far along the baby was gestationally.
Okay. So how long the mom was pregnant? in other
Yes.
words? Okay. What other types of assessments do you all do there as part of the nursery?
We do
Be right back.
vital assessments.
Okay.
The Finnegans.
Okay.
Oh, she probably
Let
just
me
got
direct
off
your
of
attention to
rounds.
January 2019. Were you working on the evening of January 9th and the morning of January 10th?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to assist in the medical treatment of a patient named Jessica Groves and her newborn Dylan Groves?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have an independent recollection of that? Do you remember this incident?
Yes.
Okay. Explain to the members of the jury how you became involved in this treatment.
So around 5:45 that morning, our charge nurse from labor and delivery called back to the nursery. The nursery is like a separate unit, kind of. We're all maternity, but labor and delivery is out front and nursery is separate in the back. We have a room that's enclosed. It's a locked unit. Because they
Let
can,
me interrupt you just for a second. You have a locked unit back there. Explain that to the jury and what's the purpose of that?
so the nursery is a locked unit. It's just so that people can't get in or out with babies, that our babies are protected in the nursery, because people bring their babies over to sleep and to do different assessments and things like that. So,
Okay. So delivery takes place, you said, out front?
yes, delivery takes place in the labor and delivery rooms.
And then the babies, if they're separated from the mothers, would be taken to a locked unit in the nursery in the back?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to stop here and just look, as a mom of 6, and you are free to take all of my advice with a grain of salt. If you are a new mom, going to be a mom, even considering being a mom and or husband or father, consider, and I didn't until the last baby, and now I'm kicking myself, but consider taking up the nurse's offer to, watch your baby so you can sleep a little while you're in the hospital. I know you want to keep that little new precious nugget that you just got out of you and watch him and or her and make sure that their nuggety goodness is all next to you. But also, you might want to get some sleep. So I've done both ways, and I can say that having the baby go to the nursery to take a little nap so you can get a little nap too is in no way being a bad parent. You are not going to lose parent points. You're not going to lose mom or dad points if you just want to take a nap or a shower or just have 5 seconds to yourself. It's okay. That's all I'm saying.
And I think I'd ask you how you became involved with this particular patient, but before we get there, let me back up just a minute. Are there, I guess this is not really a good term, but kits that you guys use when you get a call saying we have a mom getting ready to deliver a baby?
Yes, so we have little buckets that just kind of have like hats, blankets, diapers, things like that to get so that we're ready for delivery in any amount of time. We're always ready.
Okay, so once you get that call from out front, you grab your little buckets and
Yeah.
pre-made buckets and go to the front?
Yes.
Okay. Explain to the members of the jury what typically happens once you arrive there, what your job is out there in maternity or delivery.
So once we get to the room for a delivery, we set up and make sure that our warmer's ready so that we have all of our items ready for resuscitation if we need it. I like to just make sure that all my stuff's ready, get my blankets set up, make sure they're warm underneath the warmer. There's a radiant warmer, just stick the baby underneath
What's the purpose of that radiant warmer?
to keep the baby warm.
Okay, keep his body temperature up? All right. And so you were explaining to the members of the jury the call you got in regards to the treatment of Jessica Groves. Go ahead there.
So we got the call about 5:40. We grabbed our bucket, Courtney and I, and we went to the delivery. Whenever we got there, she was being transferred from the triage bed to the regular labor and delivery bed. And we just continued to set up our supplies.
Okay. Before you arrived there, were you provided any information regarding this patient from the nurse that called you?
She literally said, "Hey, it's Jessica. We have a patient going to room 1. She's complete. Come on." And I said, "Okay."
When you say complete, what does that mean?
She's ready to deliver. She's dilated 10 centimeters and 100% effaced.
Okay. When you got there, who did you see?
I saw Jessica Groves and her husband.
Okay.
I saw Jessica Shaw, Darian Lyles, Megan Sadler, Amanda Jones.
Okay. These other people are those nurses?
Yes.
Okay. And what's everybody doing in there? Describe what that atmosphere is as you enter the room there.
I mean, honest to God, how are you going to cross this woman? She's like a bowl of sunshine mixed with like the sweetest person you ever knew and like 100% a Hufflepuff. I mean, there is no way you're going to be able to cross this woman. She's like the most cute, sweet woman ever. And she works with little teeny tiny babies. I mean, I know. You could never even imagine her saying a curse word. I mean, I'm a salty person. I can imagine me saying a curse word all the time. This woman couldn't even make a mean face without me thinking it's adorable. She's like a puppy or something, which, no offense to you, ma'am. I don't mean this in a derogatory way. I'm just saying you are like the kindest, most sweetest sounding person ever. You just sunk their case. The defense is like, I'm not going to speculate ex-comer ZZZ. I mean, possibly, but I'm not going to speculate. But she just, for the love of all that is holy. Well, I mean, she did brush the curl out of her hair, so maybe she is a little wild there. We don't know.
It's tense. Everybody is kind of trying to get things ready. You know, there's certain things that you have to do before delivery, to get the room ready, to get the patient ready. So everybody's just trying to get everything ready before the doctor gets there. And
If you would describe to the members of the jury the defendant Jessica Groves' demeanor as you come in.
whenever I came into the room, she was just laying in where she was being transferred to the bed, but she was like moaning. I didn't hear her say any words, but she was just like moaning in the bed. Like she was annoyed that she was there. She just acted like she didn't want to be there, anywhere but there.
Okay. You said you've been at Southern Ohio Medical Center since
Salbert, we found your
2017?
girlfriend. She's not
Okay.
incarcerated. She's
And that you're a
nice.
registered nurse.
And she has
You've been an
dimples, and
attorney
she's a
in
nurse.
nursery. Have you had an opportunity throughout that time to observe mothers who are under the influence as they come in to deliver their babies?
Yes.
Did you see or make any of those observations as it relates to Jessica Groves?
Yes.
Okay. Explain that to the jury.
Explain why she's a horrible mother.
She just appeared high whenever she was in the bed, just moaning. Like
She was
wasn't
a
in
C
pain,
word.
but she was just annoyed that she was there.
Okay. Were there any pain meds given to defendant Jessica Groves as far as you know?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well,
Okay.
she was self-medicating.
Explain to the
Unlicensed
members of
street
the jury
pharmaceuticals, if you will.
the delivery. Were you there when that baby was delivered?
You
Okay.
found her
How
rooting
quickly
around the
did that
pharmacy like a
occur?
pig going after truffles.
Well, I'm not exactly sure on the time, but I remember waiting at the warmer for Dr. Adams to get there because it took him, he was at home, so he had to be called in. So it took a few minutes for him to come in.
Okay. But would you consider this a quick delivery from the time you arrived to the time that this baby was born?
Yes.
Okay. And what is it that
Oh,
you do with
dang it, I'm gonna start
baby Dylan once
crying.
he's born?
Once he's born, because she came in the way she was acting, we didn't know her Hep C status. So either way, whether the baby had respiratory distress or not, I was going to bring the baby over to the warmer no matter what. So As soon as the baby was born, the cord was cut. We brought the baby over to the warmer to make further assessments and give the baby a quick bath before we would do anything else with it. We did not give it a bath at that point. The baby was having some respiratory distress issues, so we ended up evaluating the baby there and assessing the baby and taking it over to the nursery.
Okay, when you say respiratory distress, you mean the baby was having trouble breathing?
Yes.
Okay, and so you removed the baby from the room and took him to the nursery. Did either parent go to the nursery with this baby? Did either parent ask about the condition of this baby as you removed him from the room? Okay. What do you
You're muted.
I know. I just realized that. I'm waiting for the lawyer to say, so do you think either of these parents are a piece of shit? just this lawyer to be like, well, you know, I don't really use that language, but I think they're ding dong terrible. They really frost my flakes, if you will.
Objection, it's true, but that still calls for speculation.
She's not an expert in shittiness, Your Honor. That's David Carradine.
She asked if they're a piece of shit, not if they're a lawyer.
She was, I believe, 39 when she gave birth to
Good Lord.
Dylan.
It's a rough 39.
Yeah. The sad thing is that she used to be an LPN. So, I mean, she's belligerent and a piece of dung at now, but I do kind of wonder what happened to get her on this path, because she seemed like she sort of had things together at one point.
Yeah.
What do you do with baby Dylan once you get him back to the nursery?
Once we got him back to the nursery, I believe we set him up on
Licensed
Aquaflow.
practical
Sometimes it
nurse
just helps,
mask.
It's kind of pressure, like oxygen, and it just goes through nasal prongs through their nose, and then it just helps the baby's lungs expand and helps them get to have a regular breathing system.
Okay. At some point, do you, using the evaluations we spoke of earlier, determine what his gestational age was? Okay, explain to the jury how you did that and what you found in doing so.
So there are just different assessment tools that we use, like I said, just like how their wrist bends, different things like that. And we determined that the baby's gestational age was 36 weeks.
Okay, and full gestational age is what? 40 weeks. Okay, so he was approximately a month early? Okay. Would that contribute to his breathing difficulty?
Yes, that's typical for a 36-weeker to have respiratory distress issues at delivery.
Okay. And explain to the members of the jury, in your work there at Southern Ohio Medical Center in the nursery and as a maternity nurse, have you
Oh no,
seen
we've already
babies
called her
who
Madonna
are exposed
Heiress.
to drugs?
Yes, absolutely.
How often would you say you see that?
I would say just about every day.
Just about every day. Okay.
Oh,
Explain to
she's
the
so-
members of the jury what symptoms or signs babies who are exposed to drugs exhibit.
Just different things. Tremors, either disturbed or undisturbed, meaning if you would disturb the baby would have tremors, or even just laying there, the baby would have tremors. Sneezing, temperatures, sweating, loose stools. They can have diarrhea, even with the meconium that babies usually have right after they're born. Just different things like that.
Okay. And throughout baby Dylan's stay there at the hospital, was he observed to have symptoms of drug withdrawal?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. You would have had a shift change sometime that morning, is that right? About what time was that?
Around 7 o'clock, the day shift comes on.
Okay. 7 a.m. you said?
7 a.m., yeah.
Okay. And the birth was shortly before 6 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay. During that time frame, do either parent appear at the nursery asking about the condition of the baby or asking to see the baby?
No.
Okay. When you left the room with baby Dylan, was mom okay? Stable?
As far as I knew, yes. Yeah, I wasn't really paying attention just because I was worried about the baby, but yes.
Okay. Let me take a little, just sidetrack you a little bit about a procedural issue. As part of the regular, everyday interactions there at Southern Ohio Medical Center, do you all maintain records for each patient that comes in?
Yes.
Okay. And those are kept every day in the normal course of business for each patient that you see?
Yes.
Okay. Let me hand you what's previously been marked as State's Exhibit 4 for identification.
Okay.
Do you recognize the documents that I just handed you?
Yes.
Okay. What are those?
These are Dylan Groves medical records.
Okay. And how do you know that those records belong to Dylan Groves?
Because they have his name, his date of birth, his medical record number, his visit number, all that kind of stuff. All that patient identifiers that we use to identify a patient.
Okay. And if you wouldn't mind to just flip through those and then tell the jury whether or not you believe those to be a true and accurate representation of the care that was given there
I think
for
the guy
Dylan
in the
Groves.
blue behind the lawyer, right? Roberto, I am trying to. You are worse than the youngest, most feral lately. Trying to get stuff done. I believe this guy right here would be
Yeah.
okay just tackling and taking care of said parents for us. He's like, Your Honorness, I will go ahead and take out the trash for you. No trial, no worries. Sir, you are supposed to be chaperoning. You are doing no such thing right now. You are supposed to be making sure a fryba is in between middle daughter. Oh, Hella Ray, thank you. I will
Oh,
be finishing shortly so that we can go to Gypsy Rose. Thank you, everyone. Let us continue. Madonna, inspired lawyer. What are you going to do? This is not a happy case. I did send Hella a invite, but we only have about 15 minutes, my math being girl math, so.
While he was there at the hospital.
oh God.
And welcome, Hella Raid.
I've looked through the chart many
Yay.
times.
I'm sorry?
Hella.
I've looked through it many times.
Okay. Through this particular chart?
Yes.
Okay.
And thank you all for coming by. This is not the easiest trial to watch. Oh no, oh no, now she's going to become sad. Oh, for F's sake. This has to be the most happy ball of happiness woman I have seen, and now she's going to start crying, and oh my gosh, I'm going to get the vapors, y'all.
I'm going to hand you what's going to be marked as State's Exhibit 5 for identification.
Sorry, Sal, I
But
did not
no,
know
it's not
about
too
this.
cold here. Only my left one is frozen.
Funny enough, that's my left leg is also the one that gets frozen. So there you go, Sal. You are my evil twin.
Yes.
Okay, what is that?
This is Dylan Groves' urine drug screen profile.
Okay. And is that a part of something that was taken from this whole record, complete
Yes.
record?
Yes.
Okay. I might put that up on the screen for the jury to see.
Sir, you are supposed to be chaperoning. This is neither being in the middle of two
Okay, I
teams
think you said
nor
earlier,
annoying
you can
them.
identify these records, the patient's name, the patient's date of birth, and then they also have a medical record number associated with each patient, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so if you would explain to the members of the jury what this is and what it indicates.
So the baby was positive, had an unconfirmed positive for amphetamines.
Okay. And if there's an unconfirmed positive test for amphetamines or any other drug, what happens then?
So then we do our Finnegan assessments on the baby if the baby has a positive drug screen. Because there was no prenatal care in this case, she was not able to have drug screens during her pregnancy. So we always get a urine on baby if there's no prenatal care visits. So
Okay.
once we got the urine drug screen and it was positive, we started doing our Finnegan assessments every 4 hours and started evaluating the baby for withdrawal symptoms.
Okay. And is there a process that the hospital uses to confirm those pre-screens, so to speak? Do they send it on for a confirmation screening?
Yes, I believe they do, yeah.
Okay. Let me hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 6.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, Hella. Nice shirt.
Hi.
I like it.
It's a top. It's a dress.
Oh,
I'm being all
well,
girly.
nice dress. Oh,
Compliments your eye
very-
color.
It does.
It complements my high color.
Well, you know, it's it's Sal. At least he wasn't saying it makes your boobs look nice. I mean, it's Sal. He's trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we were just making fun of him over on the other stream, so it's fine.
Thanks.
Yeah. So this is the nursery nurse who took care of baby Dylan, and
Yes.
So
She
unfortunately,
gets a bit upset.
Yeah, I think she just sunk the entire defendant's case because she is like the most bubbly, sweet, nicest sounding and seeming person. And she is looking so sad and just sad about the whole case. And
Yeah.
I doubt that they're going to cross her because what are you going to cross with, this bubbly, sweet woman?
Yeah. Just so everyone's aware, I've watched this trial. So I I don't want to give any spoilers away.
Oh, I've been
It's-
spoiling the hell out of this because I had to
Okay.
explain why I'm full petty and FU mode on all of these people.
Yeah.
Well, the
So
defendants, because
I can't remember exactly how far in this witness is. So how
First
much
day.
have you
this is
gotten
day
through?
one. So
Yeah,
we've gotten
but she's
through
not like
opening
second or third
statements.
witness in. How
She's
how-
the
Second
second.
witness.
She's second.
She's the second
Okay.
witness.
Right.
I think they're going
Okay.
chronologically. So I think
Yes.
it's the delivery nurse, then the nursery nurse, and
Yes.
then I believe they go with either the foster mother or
The foster mother is really
yeah.
hard to
I've
watch.
already said the foster. I said the foster mother. We're just gonna get.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use my Hillchuck Kleenexes, which is a roll of toilet paper, because I'm
Yeah,
not paying $4 for Kleenexes. That's ridiculous.
yeah,
When I go to Sam's Club and get 900 things of toilet paper for $42.
yeah.
Jeez.
It's the
I'm just
foster
kidding.
mother broke my
Well,
heart.
Yeah, the foster mother, like I said, is the only parent that grieved
Yeah,
Dylan,
she is.
and
Yeah.
She really
you
grieved
can
Dylan.
tell, and you can tell that grief. And there is a law that she is trying to get passed, I think, still to this day, that is in committee hell, that is
Yep.
supposed to put safeguards in for the reunification of children taken away from their parents when they were born with substances in their system. Because
Yes.
Seems
this
kind
is
of
not only,
obvious.
well,
It does
yes,
seem
you
kind
would
of obvious,
think,
but
you would
Yeah, I know.
think, but apparently, I mean, Children's Services is hell bent on getting kids back into the arms of their drug addicted
yeah.
parents.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, I know. Nothing like, people that will be bound and determined to be irritated if a baby's crying.
have they spoken about how the parents were just looking at each other lovingly in a
Yeah. They
Yeah.
mentioned
the
it.
delivery room? Yeah, they were just like,
Yeah. Yeah, how
Aw.
they were very insular and they wouldn't
Yeah.
really talk. They wouldn't tell anyone anything. And then when
Yeah.
Dylan had to be rushed to the NICU or the nursery, as they called it,
yeah,
they didn't go down. They didn't,
yeah,
they just kind of stuck with each
very
other.
very
And
weird.
yeah, the whole thing is weird. I don't
And
understand.
that part was just like, what?
Well, I
That's a
don't
red
understand
flag.
how anyone at DCFS could possibly think that a couple that's been married for 25 years at this point has one
Yeah.
child together. He's not going to kick her out of the house to keep this baby. He's not kicking her out of the house. I mean,
No,
on a paper, they signed like
so
a contract.
weird.
It's just
Scouts
so
honor.
weird on the honor system. It's just the amount of failures that went on in this case is alarming, and the fact that the bill is still in committee hell after what this came out in 2000, I believe 16 or so,
Yes,
several
yes,
years old.
2016. Yeah,
I mean, and it's still in committee hell because I
yeah.
looked it up.
Mm,
I don't I
I
don't
believe
know
it.
what the hold up is other than they're probably going to say, well, it's too mean to the parents or there's not enough money for all of the stipulations that they want to put in. Because
Look, I understand wanting to have children with their parents. I get that. But what's with the lack of support then, if that's the case? Why are there parents that are left with these children for weeks and weeks and weeks and no
yeah,
one's checking? Because that's the problem. So
well,
that,
or
and
when
this,
they
in this
check, they
instance,
don't do their
they left them.
job.
They don't do their job. So this is what happened. This kid was
Yeah.
just left with these people for ages.
Well, yeah, and it's just it, look, even the best parents, even, me, like baby number 6, when I came home newborn, I mean, I went to Walmart and I think I purchased, like, when he was, firstborn, I was so tired. I think we went to Walmart once and I purchased like a pack of forks, some scrunchies, and foil. And my husband's like, "What are you buying?" I'm like, "I don't know. I think we need all of these." And he's like,
Those
"I think they're just
those
too."
things go together.
He's like, okay, fine. How about you just go home and go to sleep?" And I was like, "Okay, that sounds good too."
Yeah,
I mean, you're tired. So even well-prepared parents are
yeah,
tired and you're sleep deprived. And,
yeah.
you might have to take a walk away. And I can't imagine who thought that, people that are struggling with addiction, it just it boggles my mind. I think so there's a very good channel, This Is Monsters, and he does a
Okay,
breakdown of this case.
really.
And he has a really good line. He's like, "You know what I really hate?" He's like, "These people that are, these horrible, ridiculous parents fight so hard to get their children back, and then they're the first people to, unalive a kid because it cries, like kids do." And he's like,
Mm,
"F you, just leave the kids where they go, or where they can be safe." It boggles the mind.
it does.
But Fry, no. You have been a pain. I know I was in bed all weekend. He's just like, "But you was not playing with me at all this weekend. You was in bed."
I just chew you. That's fine. Look,
Well,
look at my
we've
look at my arm. Look at this bruise. See, can you see this
oh
bruise?
no.
This
Oh,
bruise.
ow.
That is because my dog would like to chew on this chewy watch band.
Of course.
Right?
Oh
Look how
no.
delicious this watch band looks. This
It
would
does
be
look very yummy. I
it
mean,
does.
if it were a little darker, it'd be bacon. I could
Yeah,
understand.
exactly. Yeah. If she does get to this wash band, it will be the third one she's eaten.
Fry may have eaten his 5th earbud. Now, in his defense,
What's with
I fell asleep
earphones?
with it. I fell asleep with one in my ear, and I look. This is the 5th thing of earbuds. I am calling the trainer tomorrow. It is happening. And my youngest, most feral, lost his backpack. We cannot find it. I have no idea where it is. He was supposed to do a packet of homework for Martin Luther King Day. I have no idea where it is. We've looked all over this entire house.
Yes, Bobby, it's the ear grease. That's got to be. I thought it must be something to do with the smell of ears because every single set of headphones, earphones, anything ear related in the entire house, including my daughter's
Ooh.
things, the dog has just annihilated. This is my 3rd pair of Beats Flex.
Okay,
Wow.
all right. I thought it was just me, and because anytime they drop, I'm like, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no.
Like she comes up to me and I think she's going to give me a hug or a kiss and she's just like, here, take these.
Okay, so I will tell you guys the most inappropriate Dr. Martin Luther King story. I will try to tell
Oh
it,
boy.
but this is my youngest, most feral, so this is going to be good. So my youngest, most feral, and his old school was trying to teach them about Dr. Martin Luther King. Now, what they taught him and what he said are two very different things. But last year he was like, Mommy, we have to buy black clothes. And I said, why, sweetie? And he said, well, did you know Martin Luther King Day's coming up? And I said, well, yeah, but we just, and he said, like, yeah. And I was like, and he's like, yeah, we have to buy black clothes and then we have to eat the color black food, not like, so like black
What?
licorice or dark chocolate.
What?
Don't ask. This is what he gathered from what they told him. This is not. And then he said, did you know someone shooted him because he wore black clothes? Now, we have to wear black clothes, but I don't think anyone's going to shoot at us, okay? But that's why they call him Martin Luther King's. And then we get to eat licorice and stuff. So are you going to buy us dark stuff? And I was like, there are so many things wrong with this story. No, and don't ever repeat any of these things out in public. Because I was like, what the hell are you? What? I was like, why can't the teachers just say? And he was obsessed with Martin Luther King for a long time, so he would just say these things, and he'd be like, yeah. And I don't know why they shooted him, but I think it was because he was wearing black clothes, and that's why we have to wear black clothes. Because if you wear other kind of clothes, then people won't shoot it at you. But this is the greatest thing. But you have to be nice to people, even though they wear black clothes. But this is. I was like,
No. Oh,
I was
God,
like,
not
I
the
think
black
I smell
clothes.
burnt. I think and then not, and I was like, not like culturally African American food, but like black licorice and dark chocolate and chocolate cake because
Because
I have
the
a
right
dream.
color.
Black food.
Black fruit.
And I was like, so I had, they have all these apps that you can contact your teachers now. So I was like,
What the hell did you tell my son?
yeah, I was like, did you guys attempt to teach them Martin Luther King? Because let me explain what my son explained to me about Martin Luther King.
Yes.
And they're
Oh
like,
my
well, we
God.
try. And I was like, well, please don't try ever again. Because what had
Maybe they
happened?
should leave that out.
Well, like soul food, Bobby. I was thinking,
Soul food.
but no,
Yeah.
it was like Good and Plenty's and black licorice, and I was just like, I'm done. I'm quitting. I'm going to move to Snake
Yeah.
Island.
In
Just brave it.
watermelon. In in Ireland or Scotland, they have black pudding.
Oh,
Well,
well, then he would have probably approved of that.
yeah, black pudding is like, and they try to make it so that even the white bits are black, right? That's so racist sounding, but it's true. Like even the white bits are black, and it's basically blood. So
Yes.
yeah, and they cook it in such a way that they get all of the white bits, and they try to make it so that it's all as black as possible. The blacker, the better. But that
That's a
sounds
used
terrible.
motto.
You shut up. Wow. Okay. So he
He
thought
walked
your
into
friend.
that.
Yeah, shut up. You
Well, so
think it's because of the clothing. That's very innocent.
well, it was very innocent, but it was also like, oh my God, there's so much wrong with this, and I don't have time to untangle this, and I don't want to
No.
untangle this.
No, just leave
And
it.
yeah, so we finally got over that shtick, and I'm glad, but it was just like, I had to call the teacher, and I said, what exactly did you tell them about Martin Luther King?
Mm.
Because this is what he is telling me about Martin Luther King, and I don't think anyone said that.
Yeah.
And she
That's
said, no, we watched a
it.
video, but no one said anything about licorice. And I was like, well, that's good because black licorice is gross.
Yeah, well, and we don't want him to use it as people think it's a euphemism, let's say.
Well,
Like,
yeah. So poor kid, he didn't understand why I was like, no. So we read another book and he still was confused. And I just
fair.
think, 4 and 5 years old might be a little bit too soon to try to make things
It's too
understandable. Let's
soon.
just stick with ABCs.
Exactly. They try to teach kids these concepts too soon. Leave them innocent.
He doesn't notice anything. Like his best friend at school is from I believe Vietnam, and he's just like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, my best friend is cool. She knows all sorts of words I don't."
Yeah.
And it's just, you know,
Can be.
yeah, he has no concept. So when I was just like, "Okay, that's not what any of this yeah." But then again, he is the
Yeah.
kid that gave us this. So
Yes,
let's
he is
continue
actually.
because I do need to make dinner at some point
Yeah.
How do you
before
recognize them?
This is the
Ruby.
baby's cord drug panel that we sent off.
Ruby, Gypsy, Dali, Rose.
Yes.
She'll always be Ruby to me. She's her evil
Yeah.
side.
That is her evil side.
I mean, could they what is this orange color too? And the drapes
you
that
mean the
match
room?
nothing.
The room is so
Yeah.
weird. At first, when
really
I first started
is.
watching this, I didn't even realize. I was like, "Is this a courtroom? Like, what is this room?"
Looks like the conference room at a Hyatt hotel
Yes.
Yeah,
that some business
it
would
does.
rent out.
And if you would, look down through there and explain to the jury which ones.
No, Roberto.
Looks like where I did my
So,
traffic school
looks like
course.
the positives were
It was in a hotel.
amphetamines, methamphetamines,
It does look like where a
Fentanyl.
cocoa knife convention would be.
opiates,
Yeah.
morphine. And I think that's it. I can't really read it very well.
Farther away from you, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. And if I might hand you lastly, State's Exhibit 7, for identification of the record.
Bobby.
You know they've had some timeshare meetings in this place.
I'm just wondering who was like, this is a courtroom. I'm going to go with sunset orange.
So, at every delivery, we get a cord sample, so the doctor will, cut us off a piece of the cord, and we only send that if there's drug use suspected or if we get a positive. So at this point, we put it in a box, we seal it up, and we send it
What if
off
you wanna
to
eat
get
it?
drug screen results from the cord.
An outside
Isn't
lab
that a
result
thing?
at it.
Yes,
Okay. And
Like
then is
eating
the
the
hospital
placenta?
notified as the
Oh, okay.
result?
yes.
And
They,
does that then become a
And
part
not
of
in
the
a
patient's
hospital. They
record?
don't let you
Yes.
keep
Okay,
that.
I hand you
Oh.
State's Exhibit 7, ask you if you
You're muted,
recognize
Ella,
that.
but
Believe me, because I tried, because when I got my tubes
Glad.
tied, I wanted to mount them on the, mantle because they done service. I mean, they done a lot, but they
seen
said
battle.
that I couldn't have 'em. Yeah,
Did
they,
you want them gold plated?
I was
framed.
gonna bronze them.
Yeah.
and make
I
it
was
safe.
gonna,
Maybe
yeah,
like
I mean, I was gonna
taxidermy, like a deer.
Hey, you know what? Men taxidermy their catches all the time. These have, brought 6 children into the world, damn
I
it.
thought you were going to say they're man bits, but actually, thank God they don't do that.
Well, I've only done one story about that, and it involved keeping them in the refrigerator and then X not giving them back and then having to be sued. Eh,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, and what is that?
This is the piece of paper that comes across the printer in the nursery every time that a drug screen or cord screen comes back.
Okay. So for State's Exhibit 7, the nursery would receive notification from an outside lab about the results of the cord, is that right?
Yes,
Okay. And I don't know, can you see that?
a little bit.
Let me see if I can zoom in there.
Yeah, I can see that better.
You would explain to the members of the jury what's revealed in the cord test.
The baby was positive for amphetamines, methamphetamines, fentanyl, opiates, and morphine.
anything the baby wasn't positive for? Oh,
Boy.
love and attention.
Yeah, they really did the hap trick of drugs.
That show positive for morphine and hydromorphine.
Okay, yes.
Let me hand that back
Probably
to
some
you.
designer ones not
Sorry.
yet known.
Molly, freaking
Yes, positive for the morphine.
Okay. What type of treatment type of treatment does SOMC provide to babies who
Fry,
are?
you cannot get under my chair.
subjected
You are
to
not a
substances
tiny
like this.
cat.
So with the fitting assessments, we do them every 4 hours. And if a baby at that time got over an 8 score 3 times in a row, we would start the baby on our morphine withdrawal protocol.
Okay. To your knowledge, was baby Dylan bottle fed or breastfed?
Bottle fed.
Okay. To your knowledge,
This
was
heifer
there
could not be bothered.
any request from the mother to have her baby back in her room or hold the baby?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Applause? What the? Closed captions. You shine on, you glorious bastard, you.
If I could have just a second, Your Honor.
Oh, sorry. Didn't he say he was going to let her take the blame?
Yeah, so that's pretty much why they have separate counsel. She is
Yeah.
taking all the blame for the unaliving, and he is pretending, or not
Yeah.
pretending, that he is, in fact, the dumbest human being ever to be alive.
Well, yeah, he is, but they wouldn't let him get away
Yes.
with it, right? They ended up saying that he's going to get
I
done for it anyway.
I do not remember the exact sentencing. It might be that he doesn't get the second degree unaliving,
Yeah.
but he does get, basically he gets the same amount of years for the conspiracy to hide the corpse and
Yes.
all of that thing. So
Yes.
while he doesn't get that, he still gets the same amount of years, I believe. But
Yes.
Bobby,
Bobby,
Jesus
what
Christ.
is that?
Oh my God.
What is that?
Something very offensive.
Is that his gold-plated testicles? Okay.
I don't know. I'm sorry, spoiler alert.
Oh, you're Max Muir.
Oh, Jiminy oh, giblets. I thought that was your gold-plated. I don't co-sign that. Bobby, I thought you were being a testicle, not someone else.
Well, he
He's
was
saying he has
talking about.
testicles for posting
He was
that.
he was
Oh,
talking
for the-
about gold plating them earlier. So I thought that was going to be his profile picture, but no,
Yeah.
apparently it's Max Muir. So he's just being
Oh.
racist. That's all.
Oh, well, I did tell my Martin Luther King story, so I guess,
Still less racist
fine.
than Max is. So.
It's fine.
Oh, Lord. Okay, let's get done with
Amazing
these
puppy.
last 3 minutes so I can make dinner
Sure.
before
Yeah, sure. Hello, hello.
Hey. Oh, Lord. Well,
Ms. Hutchinson, Mr. Stratton,
giblets.
Jim
Bobby.
Black.
I'm not pulling that up, but that's hilarious. And
Morning, Mr.
Xcomer gives you a 10
How
out
are
of
you?
10.
Good, how are you?
And that's
You
coming from the
mentioned
guy
earlier
with the
about
very
the signs
best
of
profile picture
exposure
right
for a
now.
baby who's been exposed to
Oh,
drugs.
you cropped them
You
out.
mentioned
Well,
Tremors,
sir, why did you do that?
sneezing. Probably going to have to say yes.
Yes,
Yes.
sorry, yes.
The recording. And others.
My client murdered her
signs
son.
like that. But
Hilarious.
what signs did Dylan?
We're just having a
I still
giggle
think
time
Guy
here.
in the Blue would
So
take them out for
after
free,
delivery, normally the symptoms don't show up,
allegedly.
Okay.
until 24, 48, 72 hours after delivery.
Okay.
So I don't believe that I exhibited any of those symptoms that he had.
Okay. You also talked a little bit about Jessica's demeanor. You said she was moaning. Any idea why?
I thought
Because
was
she
just
delivered
annoyed
a.
we were asking her questions.
Okay. It wasn't moaning in pain?
No, I don't think so.
What?
Okay. Why didn't you think it was moaning in pain?
She just didn't act like a normal labor patient. She didn't act like she was in a whole lot of pain.
Okay. Okay. You also said she acted like she didn't want to be there, correct? Yes.
Yes,
Okay. And that she
Sir, your
appeared high?
jovialness is.
yes.
Yes. Okay.
It's
Okay.
very strange.
We have to. Yes, we have to
this
stop and
working
give
well with the
our
jury?
award for man who is effing over it for the day to this man in blue right here. The man in blue right here is just effing. Yes, Fry, I see you. I love you very much, you needy baby boy. S- we're almost done. You have 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes. Stop.
Um,
And we have to deal with this jackass.
Tell me a little bit more about that. What did she,
So
how did
done.
she
He is
act
so
like
done.
she didn't want to be there?
He really wants to know
What
about
did
her
she
moaning.
do?
So typically, whenever we have a patient who comes in and they appear to be high, typically that patient will let us know the drugs that they've taken, when they took them, because they want us to take care of their baby the best way that we know
Callie would
how.
have been a better
They want us to be
parent
fully
than
prepared,
these
and she did not
two.
do this.
She didn't ask you anything, didn't tell you anything?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Stratton. Ms. Scott,
You've
you
done
may
a wonderful
proceed
job,
with the
sir.
witness.
I think you've won the case.
Not
Thank you,
guilty.
Your Honor.
He's quite infuriating.
I mean, he
When
has to defend her, but I don't know.
you stated that you described a lot of the behavior in regards to Jessica Groves. Did you have much interaction with Daniel Groves on that day?
Not much, no.
Okay. Did he attempt to answer any questions for you all when you as part of the staff or whatever was asking in regards to drug usage on behalf of the mom? Did he attempt to answer any of the
I think
questions
that
for
he
you?
did end up answering a couple questions for them, but I didn't get those answers relayed until I was already back in the nursery, just because
Okay.
everything happened so quickly.
Okay, got you. You stated that the birth was shortly before 6 a.m., is that correct?
Yes,
And your shift ended at 7 a.m., is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. Were you on shift the next day?
I don't know.
Okay. So do you have any independent memory of how much time you actually interacted with these parents? Other than that almost hour to and a half of time on this particular day, the day of Dylan's birth?
I don't know exactly a time frame, how many days I was there while the baby was
Who's
in the
that?
nursery. But I
have
do
no
remember, in the nursery, we don't really have
That's Bobby
assignments. We
Baloney.
kind of just jump around and do things
Why-
that they need to be
why-
done.
why- why
And
did
so
you
I
change
do
again?
remember being in there whenever
don't
they were in
know.
there.
Put it back to
later
the
on.
other one.
So
The
on a
racist one?
later shift,
Or
on
the
a
original one.
different day, the parents were in the nursery with the baby.
I just remember the dad being there, not the
The
mom.
dad was in there for
Thank
the
you
baby.
for
is that?
the super chat.
Oh my
And the baby
Lord,
god.
was there for several
giblets.
days, is that
For
correct?
the love of all those
Okay,
holy y'all.
but you
I'm
do recall
very
the
close to
dad
1,000.
being in the nursery with the baby on one of your later shift on a later day, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scott.
My eyes aren't good enough. I don't get what that is.
I don't know.
It looks
Um,
racist, so
this baby out of
Okay.
room because he
It
wasn't
may
breathing
be a
well.
caricature of
Did
an
Daniel Groves follow you down the hall and ask
Asian
about his baby?
person.
No.
I see.
Over the next hour.
From a Disney
did Daniel
movie?
Groves appear and ask about that baby?
Put Dolly Rose back.
Where was he when
He
you
was
left?
at the bedside with Jessica.
For the love of all that is holy, y'all.
Mr. Stratton, any recross? No, Your Honor. Ms. Scott, any recross?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
they're all
Oh,
mad to be
they're
right.
relaxed.
Did Daniel seem concerned about his wife and his wife's health condition right after delivering the baby?
I honestly don't know. I wasn't paying much attention. I was more concerned with the baby and its health.
And
Fair enough.
if there was something going on with the mother and her medical condition, would it be atypical for the spouse to stay there with the other spouse and the baby being taken care of by medical staff? Would that be atypical?
It's really just personal preference. People do it different ways all the time.
So it's a split decision. It's kind of like, do you go with the baby or do you stay with your spouse? And it is a personal decision.
That one's
So
funny.
it's not atypical for that period of time that he would have remained with his wife versus going with the baby, correct?
I guess, yes.
The medical staff had the baby, correct? Well, in good hands, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And he may have just chosen to stay with his wife to see what kind of medical concerns she had going on.
That could be possible, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scott.
That was actually a decent reader
Any
or
other questions for
recross.
this
Yeah,
witness?
I mean, that was actually
Is this witness
decent.
excused?
I mean, they're still
stay?
evil people, but just
Yes, Your Honor.
That's fine.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
doesn't, it explains
Scott, she
a little bit
excused?
better.
Thank you. Your
Yeah.
Honor.
And you're free to go. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're right, Mads. One has an idiot for a lawyer, the other one has that lady.
Council approach?
Yeah.
Yes, and I am going to stop this here because I do have to make dinner.
of course.
And yeah, you've got Gypsy Rose coming up very soon, so I'll let you get ready for that. Thank you guys for joining the stream. I know this is not an easy case. I know this is a tough one.
Just wait
Hopefully
though
our joke
until we get to the cross of the mother.
of the mother. Look,
It's
there is a
hilarious.
reason I picked this case. Look, Madonna Lawyer does tone down her eye makeup, I believe, and she turns into Xena Warrior Princess on Dirtbag Mom, and it's mwah. Look,
Yeah.
it's everything you want to say to this dirtbag mom, and she has no chill, and she gives no Fs, and it is glorious
and it's
because
not
you
long,
see.
and it's just
It's
brutal.
Yeah, and she becomes the avatar for every single one of us who wants answers.
Yeah.
So have a wonderful rest of your day. I am going to redirect you, now that I think about it, to Hella, because I didn't
Oh,
think
yeah.
about that. Because I'm a smart person. It happens once in a while.
You're so cool. Thank you.
So let me see. Where is Gypsy Bros? Da-da-da. No, that's not it. No.
I have so
one.
many upcoming streams.
I know.
Well, I know that's what I'm like, where is?
I
Oh,
sent
for
you
love
the
of all that is-
link, Mo.
Okay.
I
Is that
have.
Napoleon Dynamite in the background?
Can you see that? You're not dicking around, are you? Thanks to
There
Bobby.
we go. Got it to go with you guys. So you guys will be redirected there. I should be finished with dinner in time, or I might come in just a little bit late.
A bit late.
But
That's
I will
cool. Whenever
also
you
have
like.
newsy news. So I will do all that. I'll be in there for just a little bit. So have a wonderful day, guys.
Yay.
I will see
See
you
you
guys
soon.
later.
See you
Yes.
guys
Bye,
over
guys.
at Gypsy. Bye.